Wishes after tell, pretty things. I can't go like yellow. He may agent your bites the whistle. Works row.
Here I go, anti-anything.
Yes, it's a William Bristol one these days. So it's still some. After.
Here I go, anti-anything.
Oh, ho.
It functions everywhere, sometimes without stopping, sometimes discontinuously. It breathes, it heats, it eats, it shits, it fucks. One mistake ever said the it everywhere. It is machines, not at all metaphorically. Machines of machines with their couplings, their connections. An organ machine is connected with a source machine, one emits a flux which the other cuts. The breast is a machine that produces milk, and the mouth a machine coupled to that one. The mouth of the anorexic hesitates between an eating machine, an anal machine, a talking machine, a breathing machine, deeper machine, asthma, attack. This is why we are all tinkerers, each with their own little machines. An organ machine for an energy machine. There are always flux and cuts. Judge Schreber 5 has divine rays in his ass. Solar anus. And rest assured it works. Judge Schreber feels something, produced of something, and theorized about it. Something is being deduced effects of machines, not metaphors. Of the schizophrenic. It's a better model than the neurotic lying on the couch. A bit of fresh air relationship with the outside. Take the stroll of Lenz into the outdoors. It is different from moments when Lenz finds himself with his good pastor, who forces him to situate himself socially in relation to God, in relation to Father, in relation to Mother. On the contrary, he is in the mountains under the snow with other gods, or without God at all, without family, without father or mother, with nature. What does my Father want? Can he give me better? Impossible! Leave me alone. Everything is a machine. And three celestial machines, the stars are rainbows, alpine machines, each coupled with those of his body, noise machine. Uninterrupted, idling from matter. It must feeling of endless bliss to be in contact with the profound life profound in every form. To have a soul for the rocks, metals, water, and plants, to welcome into oneself, as in a dream, every element of nature, like flowers that breathe with the waxing and waning of the moon. Och det landskap gissar sig where, what the die the multidodging net, in the replies. Krongas can be a chlorophylling machine or a photosynthesis machine, or at least split his body as a part into such machines. Lenz put himself before the distinction of man nature, before all the identifications that this distinction conditions. He could not experience nature as nature, but as a process of production. There is no more man nor nature, only process that produces the one within the other and couples the machines Together.
We'll head over and we'll get live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. How are you doing today? I hope well. Let's recenter myself a bit there. Welcome to the Quarantine Collective's ongoing reading of Anti-Oedipus. Third time through, third time's a charm, almost done with it, so we can start our fourth reading, which is great. Just fucking great. Fewer people this week. We've got a handful of people here. You're always welcome to join us in the Discord, discord.gg/DGQC, so you can always make sure that I see everything you type live. Of course, I do also see everything you type live here in YouTube as well. As we near the end of the final section of the book, this last week, maybe two, has been talking through how the way that art and science, despite seemingly captured by capital, how these things are able to escape it. And it's not even able to escape it. It's how they are almost designed from the ground up at this point to do so, to deterritorialize, to break out, to break through. This is going to be a lot this week. It's going to be a lot this week. Last week's paragraph, we ended up deep diving into art history, which if you weren't here, was awesome. It was a lot, but it was pretty fucking fantastic, to be frank. I thought it was pretty great. But the underlying point of the paragraph was to talk through, and I'll zip back a little bit. We'll just get to the fucking reading so I can just start. The overall point was to talk through how painting, and we're beginning into this with science next, but to talk about how art, over time, came to form something different that, I have crackling. Fuck, 1 second.
Is it me or is there no sound in Discord?
I had to disable the audio so I could fix crackling, hopefully. It's not muted now. It should be working now. Is it working now for you, LJ?
Yes. Has the
Excellent.
crackling been returning? Because I don't remember any crackling for the past few sessions.
It probably did this time. Someone was saying it was on YouTube, and that would make sense. OBS is a little funky. It's fine. Okay. But it should have fixed it. Let me know if it comes back.
In Discord. Yeah.
It should be better, significantly. Oh, all right. This last paragraph is focusing on how art came about and began to function first with the state, but then as time went on, as the shift in what state power was, as ultimately capitalism became a thing, there changed a way that art was handled. Rather than being focused on this hyper-hierarchized, hyper-hard-coded or over-coded meaning in everything. They use the term Byzantine. They talk about how these old codes of art functioned. And if you go back through, we were sharing examples of that. But the shift of that to what would become a very specific push of like the last 500 years of art, where suddenly instead of outside of the frame mattering, inside the frame became everything. That inside the frame, where things are related to themselves, where the relations of color, relations of figures, the relations of tone, the relations of object, their relations being the thing that ultimately gives us affective experience, that is a shift in the art world that they basically are running with and continuing with to now. talking about, as they do, let's go through at the end. From the moment there is genius, there is something that belongs to no school, no period, something that achieves a breakthrough. Art as a process without goal that attains completion as such. That gives voice to desire that breaks out of any norm. And this is a thing that continually happens. I mean, it happens it's something we all have seen, we've experienced, the shifts in not just art, but art is what we're talking about now. The way that something new comes out changes everything else. It's constantly moving things around, constantly affecting stuff, constantly pushing things. This is kind of how art functions as a process. Yes, Purin. Oh, all right. Snow has muted. Oh, they're probably also in YouTube. So this is what they're talking about now, is the way art sort of functions and works, the ways art deals with things. And this next paragraph, not to be outdone by the previous, is also a gigantic beast with a lot of complex language. So we're going to make our way through, and then we're going to, with any luck, be able to actually get to science at some point. It's entirely possible this paragraph, though, will take the entire time. So apologies in advance if that's the case. You knew what you were getting into when you signed up for it. You didn't, but that's okay. To go. The codes and their signifiers, the axiomatics and their structures, the imaginary figures that come to occupy them, as well as the purely symbolic relationships that gauge them, constitute properly aesthetic molar formations that are characterized by goals, schools, and periods. They relate these aesthetic formations to greater social aggregates, finding in them a field of application, and everywhere enslave art to a great castrating machine of sovereignty. There is a pole of reactionary investment for art as well, a somber, paranoiac, Oedipal, narcissistic organization, a foul use of painting, centering around the dirty little secret, even in abstract painting where the axiomatic does without figures, a style of painting whose secret essence is scatological, an Oedipalizing painting, even when it has broken with the Holy Trinity as the Oedipal image, a neurotic or neuroticizing painting that makes the process into a goal or an arrest, an interruption, or a continuation in the void. This style of painting flourishes today under the usurped name of modern painting, a poisonous flower, and brought one of Lawrence's heroes to speak, much like Henry Miller, of the need to have done with pouring out one's merciful and pitiful guts, these flows of corrugated iron. The productive breaks projected onto the enormous unproductive cleavage of castration, the flux that have become flux of corrugated iron, the opening blocked on all sides, and perhaps this, as we have seen, is where we find the commodity value of art and literature, a paranoiac form of expression that no longer even needs to signify its reactionary libidinal investments, since these investments function on the contrary as its signifier, an Oedipal form of content that no longer even needs to represent Oedipus, since the structure suffices. But on the other, the schizo-revolutionary pole, the value of art is no longer measured except in terms of the decoded and deterritorialized flux that it causes to circulate beneath a signifier reduced to silence, beneath the conditions of identity of the parameters, across a structure reduced to impotence. A writing with pneumatic, electronic, or gaseous indifferent supports, and that appears all the more difficult and intellectual to intellectuals as it is accessible to the infirm, the illiterate, and the schizos, embracing all the flux and counterflux, the gushings of mercy and pity, knowing nothing of meanings and aims. The Artaud experiment, the Burroughs experiment. It is here that art accedes to its authentic modernity, which simply consists in liberating what was present in art from its beginnings, but was hidden underneath aims and objects, even if aesthetic, and underneath recordings or axiomatic. the pure process that fulfills itself, that never ceases to reach fulfillment as it proceeds. Art as experimentation. There's no way to summarize this, frankly. There's no way to summarize this. But we'll be going sentence by sentence. Anyone have a big statement, thing they want to focus on, place that they want to make sure I get to? Anything like that before I start powering through what is just a lot? All right. The codes and their signifiers, axiomatics, their structures, the imaginary figures that come to occupy them, as well as the purely symbolic relationships that gauge them, constitute properly aesthetic molar formations characterized by goals, schools, and periods. Why not? They're talking about, and they've been using this framing of the way that a magnetic flux works. They're talking about the two poles of a magnet of sorts. Here is going to be ultimately the pole of art. And this is the first pole of art. There's another pole as well that they go through. But they're opening with this very particular axiomatized, structured, imaginary, symbolic, properly aesthetic molar formations. This is the reactionary pole, characterized by goals, schools, periods. This is reactionary. So, to open it up, codes and signifiers are like systems of meaning. It is the carriers of it, codes and signifiers. Signifiers carry sort of the meaning. The axiomatics and structures are the organizing principles that lay things out up front, I think would be how I'd probably phrase that one. The axiomatics are the capitalist mode of controlling or capturing the flux of desire through abstractions. Then they say imaginary figures. These populate these systems. They're representational content, and they say symbolic relationships that calibrate them between things like the imaginary figure of the mother, and then the symbolic connection it has with everything else that sort of calibrates it and sets it up. These levels of things, and this is in, I really recommend Lapoujad's book on painting, where Deleuze goes really deep into it, but these are like layers to what art is from a reactionary perspective. He calls these the properly aesthetic molar formations here. This is art properly captured, properly organized, according to goals or schools of art. Someone's taught you how to do it this way. A period of art that you're copying and you're setting up because it's historical and temporal. This is when we talk about art as a recognized, historicized, categorized thing. It is something, as they say, submitted to a great castrating machine of sovereignty. That's the phrasing they use in the next sentence. They say they relate these aesthetic formations to greater social aggregates, finding in them a field of application everywhere, enslave art to a castrating machine of sovereignty. And that's like the molar formations, molar aesthetic formations are not in a vacuum. They're not in isolation. These things exist as part of the milieu of larger social formations as well. The social order, the socius itself, capitalism for us, despotism for those before, or whatever may come next. For art works in a field of application, like is the phrasing that they use, finding them in a field of application within this larger social milieu. So art becomes functional within social reproduction. It exists in a reactionary capacity here. More or less. Yeah. So the thing to notice here, and the phrasing that they use, is the enslavement to sovereignty. The sovereignty here is the full body of the socius, body of earth, body of the despot, or body of capital money. And the The castrating machine in capitalism is how sovereignty operates through capturing desire, appropriating desire, through anti-production of desire, blocking, interrupting it, rechanneling it, these setups. And again, all of it is desire. So it's desire turning on itself in a social system, more or less. Again, this is all at once. There isn't two regimes that are two different things. They're two regimes of the same stuff that comes back on itself. Right? Is everyone following so far? So in the reactionary side, we have all of these large-scale things that we think of. Oh, this is from this school. Oh, they're in this tradition. They were trained here. They're building art for this. There is some level of that we simply can't get away from because you kind of exist socially and historically. Like, you're produced also. Like, you're built in this way. And you are appropriated. Desire is appropriated. Everything is appropriated in this sense. So that's why they go on to say there is a pole of reactionary investment for art as well. A somber, paranoiac, Oedipal, narcissistic organization. The French makes it clear what they're referring to here. It's a weird writing here. There is a pole of reactionary investment for art as well. In the French, it is because for art too, there is a pole of reactionary investment. They want to make sure we understand that this is not. You'll see a lot of people, especially in Deleuze circles, talk about how art is almost naturally revolutionary. No. But for art too, there is a reactionary pole. For everything, there is. There's no reason to think art is separate from that. And again, they're reintroducing these poles. These two poles as they're set up, right? So we have the libidinal economy, where we have the reactionary investment now as part of this pole, and then we have the revolutionary investment. These two sides of that, the paranoiac, the schizoid. They're talking about things in terms of these poles and the flux that moves between them, the flux that they affect, and how sort of things exist in that, within that milieu, within that setup. Right? Is everyone following so far? Thumbs up? Mostly? Not really? Kind of? Really? Not really at all? Happy to take a moment. Happy to sit awkwardly for a moment, too. Very good at that. Trust me. Very good at not talking at all. Got her. I'm doing Anti-Oedipus now. The unconscious has sort of two modes of social investment that are outlined here. And it's not two modes, it's two poles of the magnetic system, the fluxion. So again, it's fuzzy, but it is intentionally sort of separated out, particularly. Right?
Quick question.
Yes.
How do you separate the reactionary?
You don't.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't separate it. It's not separate. These things are part and parcel of the same mechanisms and the same setup and all of these things. Like, that's why they really go out of their way to talk about these as one pole versus the other. There's no way you don't cut a magnet in half and end up with just a north pole. That's not really how magnets work. It's not really how these things operate. You don't go, oh, these are the reactionary parts. I just don't have to do them. That would be reactionary.
What about the differentiating? Like, is it possible to differentiate like the different poles in the magnets?
Yes, but then what happens is in time, they switch up. So if you end up, for example, let's talk about, we could talk about a lot of different artists that Deleuze adores, that he talks about, that in 50 years became their own schools of art. that people began to ape the style of, began to sort of use cynically. Is that art now revolutionary? No. No, it's been recaptured and re-territorialized and handled. These things exist in time in such an odd way that you're dealing specifically more with the virtual and the actual than anything being just reactionary or just revolutionary. Things are filled with overall with the potentiality for kind of all of it. Then the actuality is where we determine things, and then it falls back into itself. So in the case of revolutionary art or reactionary art, it is that, but you can also, and I used to be able to do this on the fly, I'm not able to do it today, but you can actually find reactionary art that then gets recaptured to be used in revolutionary circles. Because why not? These things can take on these odd interactions and cause lines of flight that shift things in a big way.
Okay. I'll give an example in the chat. See what people think.
Sounds good. So, and the way to think about it, the poles, as they're talking about here, and it's again, the reactionary paranoiac pole is kind of a overall, they lay it out here in a couple steps, but we can think of it as investment in molar aggregate, in reterritorializing, the recapture, and then the segregative fascizing tendency, which sort of is more saying like investment in the socius as totalizing unity. This whole thing is really what the reactionary pole is aiming at. It's invested in the aggregate, it's reterritorializing, it's segregative and fascizing, and ultimately is about this totalizing unity, pushing towards a totalizing unity rather than a dispersal. Like Debord's determinant. Oh, see, that's one of the good examples. And I would even argue that Debord would see some of how lefties are sharing some of his works today and be a little horrified at how reactionary they're being wielded. Tankies are reactionary. They're once upon a time, the communist movement of Russia, the Bolsheviks, was exceptionally revolutionary. These things there isn't an eternal everything was always this way. It's always revolutionary to do X, Y, or Z. No, there's this understanding of the relations of things and how they come together. And again, what is being invested and where. And again, not what are you interested in? No, it's what's being invested by desire through you. You are a vessel for that. So, they use in that sentence I just read, that it is a somber, paranoiac, Oedipal, narcissistic organization. That is kind of the you-ness of things, right? So there's the social paranoiac, the fascizing, the segregative social investment, the Oedipalizing, the reduction to familial elements, the narcissism, investment in ego as an organizing principle, and somber, which tends to push towards this idea of like the death drive, the mortifying character, the zero intensity that it's pushing towards. It is investment in stasis, investment directly from the impulses in hierarchy, in closure, in the edges of things, the categorizing of things. Art in service of fascism, art in service of nationalism, identity, purity. All of these things, basically, art is pure anti-production in this way. And it's, they say, a foul use of painting, centering around dirty little secret, even in abstract painting, where axiomatic does without figures, a style of painting whose secret essence is scatological, an Oedipalizing painting, even when it has broken with the Holy Trinity as the Oedipal image, a neuroticizing painting that makes the process into a goal or an arrest, an eruption, a continuation in the void. It's a pretty basically hateful paragraph about modern painting, more or less. Well, Drew Mike, that's probably when we talk about art, and again, it is how it's used, what it's used as. When we talk about, I mean, anything the Trump admin or America is doing these days is the use of art in these things. This is very much hating on modern. Well, it's hating on a specific thread of modern painting, of abstract art, of modern painting. Because for them, again, one, they're French. Two, they have, this is like this circle of people you have to remember is like Dali would be having coffee with these fucks. Like this is a very odd circle of people. But when they talk about abstract painting, which is supposed to be breaking with representational figures, it still remains Oedipal when it operates through capitalist axiomatics, right? Because it's not achieving a real deterritorialization. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. The thing they're sort of trashing here is that, hey, we may have gotten away from the old Byzantine shit, but you have to remember, capital's still hanging out here. The art in service of capital, in service of, you're not getting away from that. You're not getting away from these things. The breakthrough happens at like the end of the painting rather than just letting the painting be a simple process. So it makes a goal of the painting. You're supposed to get this out of it. You're supposed to feel this way, whatever it is. This is what it is. This is what the painting is. And it stops the flux. It arrests the flux. It interrupts it. It cuts it. It breaks it. And there's all of these things are ultimately operations of capture of desire. It's the capture of desire across the board. And they say, this painting is broken with the holy trinity of an Oedipal image, but remains neuroticizing. It produces and reinforces neurotic structures through formal means. It exists to do that. It is in service of the axiomatics of capital. Right? So, we see this a lot today. I'm going to talk about NFTs because I think NFTs had a style about them. But it's not just NFTs, but the commercial art or art that screams innovation, that's pushing the boundaries. I was in VR for a while, and XR art, whatever it was, AR, VR, XR art. All of these things were breaking boundaries and innovative. But that doesn't mean that it's actually deterritorializing. You can actually have these abstract axiomatics and fully be capturing the flux of desire. And you tended to see that in things like NFTs. It's in XR art, in whatever the fuck trend things are, or some new thing where it's like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. This is the newest thing, and it rages, and then, it's not really doing it. It's not really working. Right? And they don't like it. They're not a fan. I would rather say the biggest problem with conservative or reactionary art is lacking depth. You can spark a bit of emotion on the surface, but as soon as you try to analyze it, there is nothing. Well, there's a reason conservatives can't do comedy and really can't do art. Like the Norman Rockwells and all that stuff. Who is that awful painter who's like super popular amongst evangelicals? He does all of the... One sec, I've got to look this up now. Now I've got to look this up.
Kincaid.
Thank you, Thomas Kincaid. Holy shit. If you've never seen a Thomas Kincaid, good for you. Anyone who sees it the first one is like, but they're huge amongst the evangelicals. Huge amongst the evangelicals. And conservative Christians and all that. Trump loves it. Like, it's that kind of shit. It's...
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. Trust me, I hated the quiche for a very long time, right? But I think this person, Kincaid, grew up religious. So there's a little circular. It's not like, you have a foreign artist that has nothing to do with evangelical, and then they started painting quiche. And then all the evangelicals love it. This person kind of grew up as an evangelical first. And then they are, I don't know how they are politically conservative or not,
Very.
but I'm just, like you gotta have a little bit nuance in there. But I'm mostly 99% agree with you. Like it's pretty, uh, overly sweet things for short-circuiting brained people. And it's mostly correct, but I just want to say, like don't put them in like one basket and whatever, because the evangelical thing is definitely there when this person was growing up, and I think that influenced how they do art and how they learn art as well, right? So I'm just saying, like, if you're talking about territories, there might be a lot of different territories in there. Just don't think it's in such a absolute terms. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's okay generally, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying generally. But I would say, for me, the fact that he grew up evangelical and that he makes paintings that are pastoral, that are simplified, that are these things, again, the goal being the recreation of it. You'll hear in conservative or Reddit circles when someone posts something that is like a weird genre bending piece of art or fashion or something that goes outside of it, you'll inevitably see someone goes, I prefer what the fuck are they even trying to do? I like my art to be very easy to understand. Like it's really weird to watch this response to art that is genre bending, that breaks things, that shatters things. That is the reactionary response, because they want the category. For them, art serves a purpose. It's not a purpose in and of itself. It's not a purpose in and of itself. The experience itself isn't the thing. The experience is maybe the goal, a certain experience or a categorization, or, well, what do you mean these colors go this way and this makes you feel something? That doesn't make any sense to me, that kind of shit. It's huge for reactionaries. They hate art. They fucking hate art. But again, even in the art world, you run into people who I think, you see this with movies, I think, a lot these days, where people really get particular about movies being done a certain way or wanting to be able to categorize them or whatever it may be. That's a little bit more complicated, a little harder to have that conversation with. The way that, again, and I think the way to think about it is that these pieces of art exist to serve a purpose. And that alone is kind of puts you in a spot that's tough. The phrasing, the phrasing is really important. They go on to say, I just want to talk for a second, then we'll come back to this, because, Ben hits it. Reactionary art is weirdly representational, not in a semiotic way, but in like a ham-fisted way. It has to be representing something real, reality, something that exists, a truth. That it's a silly level when you start getting into it. And it's, comedy is the example I give. Conservative comedy is always the weirdest shit to watch, because it's like all of the parts of what's supposed to be funny, but it's not. I'm trying to think of good examples of this. Yakov Smirnoff I grew up with. That's conservative comedy. There's a lot of cringy fucking examples from the like 80s and 90s, because that was like more accepted to be outright a piece of shit. Just to be outright a piece of shit was kind of acceptable as a thing. Dennis Leary, I think, was a transition period, but Dennis Leary's in that boat for sure. But you can go earlier. There's like weird conservative comedy that was very mainstream and still is. The guy who does the ventriloquist dummies. What's his name? I don't care. He sucks, but he has like racist ventriloquist dummies, and he's huge. People go see him. It's a whole thing. It's weird. It's very different. And again, what they're talking about, they say, this style of painting flourishes today under the usurped name of modern painting, a poisonous flower, brought one of Lawrence's heroes to speak much like Henry Miller of the need to have done with pouring out one's merciful and pitiful guts, these flows of corrugated iron. It's really not flows of corrugated iron. In the French version, it's the tubes and vibrations of corrugated iron. It's a very specific Lawrence quote that he's using here, but we'll get to that. Painting in the modern era. And they saw it in their time. They're talking specifically about the dominant form in France in their era, but I don't think it's changed greatly. This thing that claims to be modern, claims to be, is the phrase they use because, again, it's a usurped name. It's a decadent, sort of sickly thing that seems like it should smell sweet, but don't. Henry Miller and Lawrence are guys who wrote and recognized that the expressionist cathartic art was exhausted. The phrase they use here, the flux of the tubes de tôle ondulée, the corrugated iron, the tubes of concrete. This is the whole point here is that things become corrugated, industrialized, manufactured. The flows of corrugated iron, just to use even the text here, is that art has become part of that same industrialized production process. It's the opposite of sort of this odd, do anything you can whatsoever. There's iron production in that place, great. But there's this huge shift towards here is the parts, here's the thing, these flows of corrugated iron. And you see this, I think, in, what's that guy who does the balloon paint, the balloon animals? Who I go back and forth. I'm not sure. It's Koons. It's Koons. So, Jeff Koons' art is, we'll say something. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, Brooks. Say more about that. Let me torture you a little bit. Say more about that.
All right, fine. 1 second. Let me pop it up so that way people who are watching on the home game can play along. And boop. Let's just, if you haven't seen one of these, that's Koons. If you haven't seen his art, they're these weird balloon looking fucking things. And he gets paid a fortune for them. A fortune. And for those playing at home, in Discord, you've seen these. You had to have seen these. These are fucking everywhere. They're everywhere. And they're incredibly expensive, and he's made a fortune with them. I have arguments with people, good arguments, because I don't think I really have an answer fully on whether or not Jeff Koons is actually an artist. All of his art is this. All of them. This is his thing. This is what he does.
Have you seen Damien Hirst? Are you familiar with the name?
I am familiar with Hirst.
Okay. Make a comparison. Are they same? Are they different? Because Hirst.
I mean, they're different. They're different in a few different ways. Koons' entire setup is he doesn't like handcraft these things, and I don't think that's necessarily something that an artist has to do. But the fact that he actually has an industrialized process for producing these replicas of these exact things over and over and over and over speaks to, I think, what they're talking about here in this section. That the phrasing around this is I'm taking it off. And then for Hirst, here, let's look at some Hirst stuff for the YouTubes.
I posted some.
What did you post? Oh.
The sliced cow and the dots.
Sliced cow.
Oh. Yeah, both of them are industrially.
Why did I spell Hirst that way, Brooks? What are you doing? Oh my God. Brooks, you're terrible today. So it's if you haven't seen Sliced Cow, and right behind, I found a photo with it's right in front of Dots. It's on one of his things. It is I don't know, but it's different than Kuhn's for me. It is. Kuhn's is, again, everything he's built is hypercapital. When I say hypercapital, I mean it's like fucking really, really focused on making him a couple of bucks. Hearst does weird installations. And there's installations that change over time, that shift and alter. And I kind of appreciate the idea. I kind of appreciate some of his stuff. Because I don't know what the fuck the point is. I can tell you for Kuhn's what the fucking point is, but I can't tell you for Hearst, not in the same way. And that is a bit of what I think when we talk about, seemingly on the surface, these are both large scale installation based artists who make these big weird things that I think there's a good cohort of people, especially reactionaries, who go, that's fucking dumb. But despite that seeming similarity, I don't put them together. I don't put them together. He's weird. I misspelled his name 10 times too. Fucking for some reason my brain's not working today. But the rotting cow head, that is a fucking whole thing. It's a whole fucking thing. What do you think of it, LJ?
I don't know. I mean, maybe you can say that Hearst has a little bit more potential for a goal in itself instead of, Kuhn's is just aiming for money, publicity. That's about it. But if there is a unknown intention behind all the cows, then maybe there's some sort of intention of people probing around, say, oh, what artistic purpose does this serve? But personally, haven't really invested that much of my energy into analyzing these artists because it doesn't have any payback, to be honest.
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. But it's it's an interesting setup because, again, when you talk about how they came about and where they came about, the kind of artist that's produced in the modern world, Kuhn's, like, it's not like he didn't come up around what are other revered artists. His world was, and again, the guy, hey, look, here's this artist who has a production method that's hyper refined for extreme capital. Hey, did he kind of do factory style artwork for other people and fabrication in New York, like Warhol and others? Yes, he did. Literally, it's like he came up in this simplified, hey, I've got to build, I have to make stuff, I have to do it for capital system. And he makes art for that. And I think Hearst isn't wildly different. For Hearst, in that sense, also has his production methods and setups. Kuhn's fucking went to, I think, color by numbers at one point. So that way when other, like, he really made some shit simplified, like really simplified. But again, art's fascinating in this way. The phrasing of what they're going for here, though, Lawrence's heroes speak much like Henry Miller of the need to have done with, to have ended, to be done with, to have tossed out, pouring out one's merciful and pitiful guts, these flows of corrugated iron, this really industrialized art. The productive breaks projected onto the enormous unproductive cleavage of castration, the flux that have become flux of corrugated iron. That's the phrasing. The openings blocked on all sides. Under this paranoiac pole, the productive breaks, the productive cuts, the cuts that are desiring machines. Desiring machines, again, break, and they break all the time. Their breaking down is how they function. It's part of their modus operandi. That's how they work. but it gets projected onto this huge unproductive cleavage of castration. Anti-production does this. This is, if you're confused about what anti-production does, this is kind of that thing. The breaks of desire and production, the cuts of it, which are connective, which enable new connections, which enable new things to happen, become mapped on a single unproductive cut. That's what castration is. Right? Castration is the break, the cut. It is the grand mal cut for everything, all desire. And when that is part and parcel of the art, normally you experience breaks. The break is seen as part or felt or experienced as part of this grand break instead of a contingent break that other things can connect to. It's a no blockage at the grand level. This is not talking about castration in the traditional way. Traditionally, when we talk about castration, it's something that you're sort of, have as a setup, lack Lacan's setup as a thing. But instead, what we're talking about here is that as the machinery of desire, the connective elements of everything are connecting and disconnecting and finding new connections, every one of those breaks, every one of those arrests, every one of those captures, which are all productive, all of them get projected onto this lack, this missing thing, this no, this grand repulsion. And when that happens, it becomes corrugated iron, rigid, mechanical, purely mechanical at a grand level. They become openings, is the phrasing they say. Openings blocked on all sides. They have no escape. There's no room for more connection. This is the paranoiac social body. There is no deterritorialization here. Everything is captured. Everything, every line of flight is reterritorialized. The scale of this is unity, totalization at every level, with no little cuts, one grand cut that replaces all of them. And perhaps this, as we have seen, let me check chat. So DG is like art sacred and beautiful. Meanwhile, us in 25. No, they're not idealists when it comes to art. They're very functional about how art and what role art plays as a thing. And that, as they've said, there is this totalizing effect that happens on art. They're going to be going through it for science as well, but that there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do. Shit's still going to escape. There's no stopping that, because again, it doesn't exist in the same way as art did in the Byzantine era or the despotic. Am I reading and explaining the book? That is, I'm attempting to. I like to think successfully for the most part. So they say, and this is making a comment on Marx here, and perhaps this, as we have seen, is where we find the commodity value of art and literature, a paranoiac form of expression that no longer even needs to signify its reactionary libidinal investments, since these investments function, on the contrary, as its signifier, an Oedipal form of content that no longer even needs to represent Oedipus, since the structure suffices. They don't divorce economic from aesthetic, really. They don't like doing that. They're talking about it in different sort of places, but they're talking about sort of how they hit different registers. We have a commodity value, the exchange value, the market value, however you want to phrase it. Just, again, pulling a bit from Marx here. And talking about how art under capitalism sort of correlates or deals with this paranoiac pole. But it's not like a one-to-one. It's a really subtle sort of thing. This is where you find it, as they say, right? Reactionary libidinal investments don't need to be represented in the content. The investments themselves are the signifier. The form of expression is the reactionary investment. It doesn't need to have reactionary content. That's not how it works. Content doesn't matter. The expression is the reactionary investment. Yeah. This is why people put them in the post-structuralist account. This is directly going against structuralism, right? This is, I mean, as I read it, as someone else may argue otherwise, but structuralism as a thing claims to move beyond content or representation to this pure formal relationship of things, this structure, superstructure, whatever you want to call it. But the problem is, as D&G have argued sort of throughout the entire book, that the structure is itself actually a form of capture. Structure is Oedipus, the Oedipalizing process, the operation. So when we talk about the shift from signification to structure, it doesn't really change anything for us. It doesn't really do anything for us. It's not really it's a terminology, it's a semantics game. Yeah, I mean, it's a semantics game for the most part for them.
It's a vicious circle.
Yeah, vicious circle. Klosowski reading Thursdays at noon. Please join us.
Phenomenal reading. But this is not a reading of Klosowski, but
I mean, it kind of is. It kind of is, because just like Vicious Circle's kind of a reading of parts of this, because it's throughout the book, they've been talking about how capitalism has integrated art and all sorts of things into its circuits of valorization. We have museum market apparatuses that operate. Anyone here who's been to a museum or involved in the art community or even really heard about it knows how we've kind of moved art from process to product and how it is absolutely part of that system. The thing is, though, form itself can be reactionary. It doesn't matter what the content is. It doesn't have to be necessarily a pastoral Kincaid painting, right? Abstract art, structural art can just be Oedipal in and of itself, even if it doesn't literally have mommy, daddy, me in the painting as content, because it has the same logic of capture, the same logic of arrest, the same logic of closure. What? No, we haven't. Art is still process and product. I don't know what
I have a question.
Yes.
Weren't Deleuze and Guattari big proponents of Hjelmslev? And he was
big time.
A huge structuralist. So what exactly was it that...
Would I call Hjelmslev a structuralist? I probably would not call it. I can see how you can, it entirely possible to go that direction. And again, it's the same way that they take, like Deleuze runs with Kant. A lot of this book is based on Kant.
If I may, please continue, but if you look him up on Wikipedia, it says that a huge contributor to structuralist linguistics.
Sure. And so was Claude Lévi-Strauss, who was, I would argue, is a pretty big structuralist. But one of the things you start running into and how they're taking these people and how they run with them, like Hjelmslev, is for them, they're taking the processes of all meaning and combining it. And with Hjelmslev, they're taking parts of what he said and turning it into more of process philosophy than structural. Now, they're not really post-structural. That's why I should have been more specific. They're not really post-structuralist because they're not like anti-structure, but it's a different take on structuralism. Structuralism usually talks about how content can be removed from form. And I'm oversimplifying way too much. Please go read actual structuralism. But like structuralist thinkers, when you read them, talk about getting beyond content, right? That's their thing, is they want to get at the forms of things. But for D&G, they're like, that isn't actually the move. Like, it's a good move. Like, we can do that. We can understand the structures of things, the superstructures. They're Marxist after all. But the push for them is to understand that structure is more or less also content. And that's to me, where like Yomslev is the perfect one to bring up. When he talks about how we break things into content and expression, but then also content has its own content and expression, and so does expression almost. And so it's this sort of tree down into like this infinite recursion of how expression and content sort of come about. It's not really a structure in the sense of, oh, I'm putting it on ground. It's a structure in and of how it is formed and how it comes about, which is a slightly different play as I understand it from traditional structuralism. But I might be stupid. So, to be fair. No?
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for answering.
Yeah, Yomslev, I'm trying to get in a better place with Yomslev myself. I'm comfortable. I'm comfy, but I'm not confident with Yomslev, because if you haven't actually picked up Yomslev's books, they're fucking impenetrable. Like, it's hard to even describe because he's a mathematician. Like, he was brilliant mathematician, and so everything is very heavy in the math side. Like, people joke about how Spinoza's geometric method like tried to use, mathematic or geometric proofs, and he goes through the system that way. Yomslev's kind of doing that, but he's using like calculus level shit, and my brain is not meant for it. So it's a lot to read through, and also to sit with people who are smarter than me, who sit and explain it comfortably. And then there are only 3 texts I've ever found on Yomslev that are like secondary analysis texts. There's a lot of people who've taken it, like DNG, 1000 Plateaus. One of the plateaus is basically about Yomslev. But that's not really a secondary text in any way, in any capacity. So if you have good explanatory stuff on Yomslev, I'd love it. I'm always up for Yomslev discussions. But that's kind of how I would answer is the thing that's sort of underneath this is talking about structure. And again, it's not anti-structuralism, but it's playing in a different way from what traditional structuralism sort of argues and plays with. And again, I don't even know if I would call them post-structuralist, because a lot of their shit's very focused on the structure of things. But it's kind of it's a tough one like that. They sidestep. It's very similar to when Deleuze is talking about how we are either predetermined or we have free will. And he sidesteps the whole thing by talking about how the very question itself actually determines answers, and how we condition our own understanding of that thing. And as such, we break the ability for us to have free will, but free will can't exist because free will, he sidesteps the conversation so much that it makes it very difficult to have a real conversation around it. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it makes some sense. Hoping. We'll find out. But I want to go back. Someone made a comment. We have an art is still process and product. Oh, you came in halfway. Okay. I don't think there's been a moving from process to product in art. Goalpost shift. Well, so art is never, if I say it strongly, I'm saying it strongly in the middle of a paragraph where I'm talking about a few things. When I talk about art as having moved from process to product, I'm not saying art has moved from process to product, but that you got something going on, dog? But instead that the process of art has been turned into a product in this pole. Because again, this paragraph is about the poles of things, the reactionary, the paranoiac, or the schizo or revolutionary poles. These things. So when we're talking about it, the paranoiac pole is moving from process to product. That is the movement of the paranoiac pole. In the same way, if you were to lay a magnet on a table and you'd see the little iron filings moving from one to the other. It's not saying that there is only that pole, but there's a movement. There's a movement.
To understand these poles, like, is it oscillating? Like, this process oscillating and fluxing and, okay, without any signs or pre-audible or whatever, like structure or like signs or anything. It's only impulses, or it's kind of like impulses and flux, and without any shape or anything.
There's a reason that they use the terms they do, and it ends up getting tough, especially because in English they decided not to translate flux as flux because reasons and a lot of other shit like that. They've taken a lot of the science out of it, but Deleuze is being very specific when he's using these terms, and he gets in a little trouble when he gets into a few other things. But even when he's talking about epigenetics and how these things operate, he's talking about indices. And so it's the way that, for example, if I were to say, I hold a compass and I go, excellent, I am facing north. Am I? Am I facing north? Or am I holding a compass that's pointing north and I'm facing the same direction as it? Because the indice that the indicator of things, the measurement of things, is that direction is north. That this break between the two of the two things I just said, I am facing north or I have indices. This is the difference. The indices, I'm not holding a compass on screen. Correct. Yes. Well, what is a compass? How do these things work? What am I holding? What is a magnet? I guess Trump even got on in that today. So it's no longer an Insane Clown Posse joke. It's now a Trump joke as well. But I still stand by it. Tell me how a magnet works. That's fine. I know what a magnet is. Tell me how it works. We can't. Oh, magic. That thing is about indices. And if we have a magnetic field, you don't actually have a field like a soccer field that's marked out. Here's the things. You kind of have a weird fucking thing that you're able to take measurements at various points, indices of things with a lovely, magnetoscope, I guess, or some shit. And it goes, oh, this is kind of in this direction, but over here it's this, but no pole is perfect. No duo pole is exact. There's slightly different power structures. There's other things affecting it. It's weird. Things are weird. Things are weird, it turns out. And measurements and indices are weird. And so all the indices are all over the place. This is what they're talking about. They're talking about this level with all the indicators of things and the indices of it. Because we have on the one side the paranoiac pole, but then on the other, thank you for the lovely way to introduce me to the next sentence. On the other, the schizo-revolutionary pole. The value of art is no longer measured except in terms of decarotid and deterritorialized flux that it causes to circulate beneath a signifier reduced to silence, beneath the conditions of identity of the parameters, across a structure reduced to impotence. A writing with pneumatic, electronic, or gaseous indifferent supports, and that appears all the more difficult and intellectual to intellectuals, as it is accessible to the infirm, the illiterate, the schizos. I'm going to say that one more time because it's such a good phrase and I fucked it up because I suck. A writing with pneumatic, electronic, or gaseous indifferent supports, and that appears all the more difficult and intellectual to intellectuals, as it is accessible to the infirm, illiterate, and schizos, embracing all the flux and counterflux, the gushings of mercy and pity, knowing nothing of meanings and aims. The infirm tends to, in English, come across as meaning like someone who's sick. They mean mentally infirm. They're mentally deficient. The comment is that it's intellectual to intellectuals as it is accessible to those who only have the accessibility. Like they're saying to very stupid people, it's accessible and also intellectual to the intellectuals. It works on every register. It fucks with all of these things. This is the schizo-revolutionary pole of art, and it works. There can be paranoia. There's the pole. They go together. They go together. They go together. There isn't just one. There's no North Pole without a South Pole. These things work. It's in opposition, but it's in fluxion with it. It is in art's capacity.
Can I?
Please.
Because in the original French it says "aux analphabètes." As in
Yes.
those unable to read?
Yeah, the illiterate.
Yeah, the illiterate, that's the word.
Yeah, it's
That used to mean just stupid.
it doesn't mean just stupid. I was overstating. Thank you for correcting me, Ranko. It's fair. What they mean is people. So an intellectual. I'll take that. Take an average pop culture viewer, someone who intellectualizes everything, sees all of the references and gets all of the mental intellectualized references of everything, versus someone who can't read, also doesn't have the teaching or the background or understanding of art, that they go, oh, yes, this is a reference to Dostoevsky's 1970. Like, that's not their jam. They're illiterate, infirm, débile and illettré, as they phrase it. That thing, they're able to also take it in. It's accessible to them, the illiterate, the schizos, but also appears difficult and intellectual to intellectuals at the same time because it works on a different register, is what they're talking about. That's the point underneath it. That's working on a different register. It is deterritorialized, playing with deterritorialized desire. Desire freed from territoriality, free from fixed meanings, the intellectualized fixed meanings, from identity, which is an intellectualized preconscious development. They have the fluxion of desire is beneath things. And that's the phrase they use. It's beneath things. And it's beneath a signifier reduced to silence. So it's the signifier that no longer speaks. It's not dominant. It's not organizing relationships. The conditions of the identity of parameters, the formal conditions that sort of stabilize elements, right? It's not stabilizing in this case. And a structure reduced to impotence, which is such a great phrasing because we were talking earlier about the impotence of desire in the previous paragraph or the previous part, the previous half paragraph. Jesus Christ, my day. The structure itself can't capture. The structure itself doesn't connect to desire. It doesn't hold it. It doesn't organize desires. That's not the thing. It is materiality deterritorialized. It's not bound to traditional mediums or elements. It's pneumatic, electronic, or gaseous. Because canvas, print, paper, and print they see as sort of the traditional setup. It doesn't have to be on these things, but they're using this as examples. This is a completely unformed thing. The support no longer determines content. It's not reterritorializing as it goes. Right? So you end up with art that is almost immediately graspable by those who are infirm, illiterate, and schizos. People who haven't been captured by the signifying regime, more or less. But at the same time, it's intellectuals are invested in signifiers, in structures and meanings, and they fail to grasp it. It's unable to be grasped. It's unable to be taken. Like they use the term grasping very physically and ownership wise and holding on to it, right? And that thing that's happening, they say gushings of mercy and pity, knowing nothing of meanings and aims. It is such a fucking good phrasing. Such a good phrasing. Embracing all that flows in all the flux and counterflux, the gushings of mercy and pity, knowing nothing of meanings and aims. This is all about the flux that doesn't signify. It doesn't try to be a thing. It's not for a goal. It is pure process. It is for the process. It is the process in and of itself. No ends. And they use the example of Burroughs and Artaud because we did Burroughs last time. Artaud is worth going into because obviously Deleuze really liked Artaud quite a bit. To have done Without the Judgment of God, correspondences with Jacques Riviere. We did a few of his pieces before. But Naked Lunch is the famous one from Burroughs, for me at least. Everyone's got their own favorite. But it's like broken narratives and other things that sort of exist within themselves. They aren't in service of other things. There's this deterritorialized writing machine that breaks representation, that breaks signification, that breaks narrativization. And how these things are cut up and how they're broken and how they shift things, it becomes its own thing at some point. Like I like to talk about the Seinfeldization of things. Pulp Fiction is one of those. Pulp Fiction changed how movies were made or what people saw possible in films. And I'm not going to argue with anyone about that because I'm not interested. But the breaking up of narrative, how it was done, it was so strange for people to see. And then it immediately resulted in a glut of people doing that to purpose, to build that, to make a Pulp Fiction of their own. That's a different thing. They're the same kind of art, the same kind of thing. It's a non-linearized story of multiple people combining in a single moment that sort of shows how things come. But it's because it works like this. This is how you do it. This is how you become a thing. I talk a lot about films in here. Who's the guy who did, one second, my brain is having a tough day today. Apologies. He did Melancholia, which I fucking adored. Lars von Trier. Lars von Trier made movies that I found extraordinary for a very long time. And then he made House that Jack Built. And it was a Lars von Trier film. And in retrospect, it actually had the structure and was trying to be a thing. Was trying to be a Lars von Trier film. Lars von Trier was trying to make his own film. He wasn't trying to do that before. This is the difference. You pick an artist. You can find this everywhere. Pick a musical artist, a visual artist, a painter, whatever it is. At some point, they become the thing, and then they try to make the thing. And it's a goal instead of a process. It's no longer experimentation. Please.
Yeah, since you mentioned filmmakers and you just mentioned Tarantino, I felt that Tarantino, he has been making movies about movies for a long time. But when he made The Hateful Eight, I felt like he was making a movie about Tarantino movies. It wasn't that I liked it, but it was very obviously, yeah.
It was
for his fans, or how could you say?
And he talked about it in that way. I was fortunate. I got to see the Cinerama Dome with the intermission. It was amazing. But I loved Hateful Eight. Let me be up front. I loved it. But it did mark a weird point for Tarantino for me. Because at that point, he was trying to make the most Tarantino movie he could, which I appreciate and I like. I get it. But it's not the same thing as his earlier films. I would even say Kill Bill wasn't even trying to be Tarantino in the same way The Hateful Eight was. And suddenly he became a thing. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like it's almost painfully Tarantino. I don't know if that makes sense, Raiko, but for me, it was painfully Tarantino.
No, I agree, but just that my experience was that I didn't think that Hateful Eight was very good. I thought it was trying too hard. I had the opposite effect. I thought that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that was surprisingly good.
I still liked it, but it, again, very much the thing. And he makes good. Yeah. I mean, you can enjoy. Again, this isn't trying to talk down. Oh, I liked this. Oh, I must be a fascist. Like, that's not really the setup. Because there are artists who will consistently be reinventing themselves, but they still maintain a thread through all of that. A band, Aerosmith. Aerosmith's a band that's been around for 40 fucking years, that have reinvented themselves 5 or 6 times, and they still have an underlying Aerosmithy thing, but they're trying something new. Gorillaz, their new stuff, if you haven't listened, is, we'll just say will be polarizing, to be very light about it. But this happens a lot. And the thing that ends up happening is, as a thing gets popular, other artists try to be that. They try to find, oh, that's the meta? Let me go do that meta in art right now. That's going to be popular. Let me go do that thing in art right now. And they're doing the thing. And that's the setup. And I did understand The House that Jack Built. I didn't enjoy it at all. Sorry, Xless.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Brooks. I just thought it was an interesting example.
No, it's fascinating, and it's Michael Moore documentaries. If you never watched like his older stuff before, like there's pre-Bowling for Columbine and post, then there became I am Michael Moore. I've got to do the Michael Moore thing. Gus Van Sant has had the same almost curse that he's kind of been doing. How you break that and how you change that without becoming a thing or a style, right? Like, God, you could go on forever. Because everything becomes a thing. Everyone tried to do Marvel. They tried to do Star Wars and make it Marvel movies. It was not a thing. Iron Man, when Iron Man first came out, for those of you who don't remember, Iron Man was the worst superhero and the loser superhero in the entire world of, I'm sorry if you liked him, but pre his movie, he was the loser superhero. He sucked. And that's the reason that Marvel let them make this movie, because Iron Man was a waste of a character that they never thought would matter. I'm not joking. They talk about this. They just let him do it. But then it became a thing. This is the process of territorialization. And this is the process of capture as it goes. And it is not that every piece of art is one or the other. And the intention of the artist or how it's produced doesn't matter. There are pieces of exceptionally reactionary content that are used subversively, that were made specifically for profit, that end up turning the entire thing around and becoming sort of a joke unto itself and somehow the other thing. Because nothing is a thing. It's in a process of becoming constantly. Sorry?
Can you give an example of how something was trying to be reactionary but end up subversing the whole genres and stuff?
Yes. Zizek actually gives a great example of this aesthetic move. God, what is the band's name? Rammstein. Their aesthetic has been Nazi. It is authoritarian Nazi
My mom's
imagery.
favorite band.
Well, I mean, yes, LJ?
Sorry, I'm just surprised, but keep going.
Well, if you haven't seen them live or their music videos, their imagery is distinctly authoritarian. And it's distinctly Nazi. Like hard line, they don't use like swastikas, but they use the colors, they use the style, yet somehow it's not that, and somehow it's used in the opposition of that. Rammstein's fascinating.
Wait. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. There's a lot of internet memes that mock a certain generation of the Chinese dictators when I was growing up, and people end up going to prison for it. But it got into like a whole internet subculture itself. It was interesting. It's like taking the Soviet style, and then it says it's about like hail this, hail that, but everybody can tell it's like mocking them super hard. But I think I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
1 second.
Don't send those examples of the Chinese memes. It might attract some sort of unwanted surveillance.
No. But I'm just gonna, because if you're watching my stream, 1 sec, let me switch modes. I'm going to share here, and then maybe it'll work here. Yes. And then let me see, make sure that audio is coming through on this one. Capture audio as well. All right. We're going to let Zizek explain this. It's a shame Zizek didn't actually ever read Deleuze, because I think he would have really liked him.
Be very careful with that kind of claim, Brooks.
I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. I don't think he ever read Deleuze.
It's at least not at the point where he wrote Organs Without Bodies.
Yeah, absolutely not.
The only text that Zizek read is the Logic of Sense. That's it. And I doubt that he read it.
Yeah, he had a bunch of his postdocs read it for him and then write pieces or tell him about stuff. And they got a bunch of stuff wrong, which is weird. Are you surprised? And then he just ran with it. Organs Without Bodies is one of the shittiest books. It's embarrassingly bad analysis. And I say that as someone who, again, until the last couple of years, I used to love the big furry bear, Mr. Sniffles.
I really like the
ask-
4 horsemen of Zizek, like sublime object, ticklish subject, failed absolute,
Violence.
and the Christian one, fucking
Puppet and the Dwarf.
fragile
Christian
absolute.
atheism. Christian atheism, I think.
No,
He published a book. Cool.
Puppet and the Dwarf is the best book he wrote on Christianity. If you haven't read it, you should, because it's phenomenal. He wrote a few, but Puppet and the Dwarf is phenomenal.
Can I ask about the thing you said towards the end there?
Please.
Pre-ideological.
Well,
Because I know
again, Zizek's
pre
using his terminology, so to be fair. But please go ahead.
Yeah, because I know what pre-conscious is from Freudian psychoanalysis, and I don't know a lot about Zizek.
So
Pre-ideological, is that what?
So and I would say this is sort of I'm taking this in a very simplified way. He writes about this in, oh my God, Sublime Object of Ideology, but also, there's a few other places. More what he's talking about. And I'm going to try to pull it back to the book here because he's speaking much in the same terms. It's the place where these things are more indices of libidinal investment than totalized elements of a large-scale ideology. So he's saying pre-ideological, it's pre-narrativization, pre-intellectualization, that the things Rammstein's playing with and the things that this happens a lot with actually turns around on the other side. And you see this play in a lot of weird ways. Recently, and I've been talking with people about the fascinating way that the frog, Feels Good Man frog, went from being this like hippie left-wing comic to being the Nazi symbol to once again being recaptured by the left thanks to ICE and inflatable protesters, which Pepe, which is really weird to watch. But again, this is pre-signification, how it plays, how these elements work together. And again, the content is less the thing. It's not that frogs are naturally fascist. It's the structure of the content that's being invested in. And that's what makes things fascising. But these pieces can also be broken apart and exist in a place that's pre-intellectual, pre-conscious, and directly investable by the desiring machines. The good Zizek books. There are a few. Basically, if they look like that, they have a black and red cover. There's 5 of them. The entire series is very good. And Puppet and the Dwarf. Here, I'll put a handful of my Zizek picks here. Let's see what we've got. Zizek has too many fucking books. In Defense of Lost Causes is great. Ticklish Subject, Absent Center of Political Ontology. Very, very, very good. Living in the End Times, Plague of Fantasies. 1 second. I couldn't get through Less Than Nothing. Sorry. We had a reading here. And then it ended up moving to the Continental Philosophy server. And it's not for my brain, is what I learned. I just went, it's fine to not know things.
If I could just ask.
Please.
Maybe to bring this back to Anti-Oedipus. Because you keep saying that Zizek actually don't know a lot about Deleuze. But what is it exactly that differentiates them?
Zizek, well, I don't think as much as Zizek believes. So Zizek wrote a book called Organs Without Bodies that people cite, and he talk shit about Deleuze's ideas and the concept of the body without organs and how it works, but he does so in a way that shows he actually didn't engage with the text directly, where he's actually literally in it. We did a reading of a part of it a few years ago, and it's like stunning how he corrects it, and he does so in a way that is clearly talking about actually what Guattari wrote, like straight up, but is saying that it means something else, and keeps doing this odd motion. So it's excessively frustrating. Excessively frustrating to read as a thing. And so I'm mostly talking shit, to be perfectly frank, and I probably shouldn't do that. But
yeah, but because I've heard that quote about how Zizek really liked Deleuze, but he thought that Guattari should be shot or something.
Everyone's got their own sort of takes on it. He hated Guattari because he loved Lacan. Like, there's a little bit of defending daddy shit happening for Zizek.
Wait, so he didn't actually say that?
As far as I know, he didn't. And again, he may have, if he did. Zizek says a lot of dumb shit sometimes that he doesn't really mean, as I do, as people do. But I don't think I would be surprised if he said it, because, to be frank, a lot of Guattari's writings are excessively well done Lacanian thought. It's just taking it in a different direction, and not a lot of it doesn't mirror in some way things Zizek has written elsewhere. Like, okay,
but so maybe he didn't put it that harshly, but is it fair to say that he did like Deleuze, but that he didn't like Guattari?
I don't think he's ever said specifically, like, either way. Like, he's sort of, he respects him a lot. He talked about how he respected him, but that he was wrong about stuff. Like, it's a weird thing. He's a genius. I think he overspoke about how much of a genius Deleuze was, but again, super frustrating to read Organs Without Bodies with the background, because it's just beyond confusing. And he basically, how he reads it is he goes, logic of sense, great, because logic of sense is excessively Lacanian, by the way. And then Anti-Oedipus and all that shit afterwards is nonsense, because Guattari this, blah, 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 blah. But it's frustrating. It's a frustrating setup. But again, Zizek in the last few years has also been pretty shit, to be very frank. His work output has not been good. He's been trying to be Zizek, to be perfectly honest. And, man, he's been frustrating. Some of his trans takes and sexuality takes are almost in direct opposition to shit he wrote years ago. And he's doing it to be polemic, I know, and make a point, but it's not, I don't think it's very good. Which is a shame.
Hold on. I just remember this example. This is one of the recent things that he said. He's against, what did he say? He has problem with these biennales of art festivals because it is nothing but sort of a neurosis of some sort of left or whatever. I feel like this is bizarre coming from him, because of course there's a neurotic part about keep repeating the same thing so they can keep holding the hope of the solutions and whatever. But I could clearly sense that there's something beyond that. Right? So why did Zizek say it's nothing but that? For me, this is almost in direct contradiction of a lot of the other thing he said. But this is very recent. This is maybe this year or last year. Curious about what you think of here, but maybe it's too general. But somehow just remember this little point. Zizek says, "Oh, I don't like the." And he even said he's a centrist these days, and he doesn't like the BNLs. I was like, really? Nothing but neurosis in the BNLs? Really? Like,
and Zizek, again, he's doing a thing, and I get the thing he's doing.
I don't think he's trying to stir conversation. I think he was actually just saying that to say a point. I don't think he's trying to stir up anything, and he's not encouraging dialogue there.
I think he does. He made it so the comment he made on trans people goes back to, and it's, I think, really fascinating. Because when you talk about it, you have to, again, this is like, the story, the history of Zizek's commentary and a whole bunch of different shit. But he talked about the idea that trans kids should be given puberty blockers or gender affirming care. And his reason why it shouldn't happen is because the contingent realities of life exist in a way where you don't know what you are. He didn't say it this way. I'm saying it in a way that I know he meant it, and that he went on to say in a written piece, where he said that the idea of gender is something that comes about over time, that at 10 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, we don't know what we are. No one does. And how do you know what you will be? And making that choice for the rest of your life is tough. He didn't put it very well, and even that is putting it, I think, less good. But it's in line with, and the tonally, with the way that he talked about falling in love. And he, Murray Rudy, and a handful of other Lacanians, their big push, and it's one I like, is the idea of falling, the contingency of the event, the accident of things. That the more we try to control or say, this is what I am, this is what I be, this is who I love, or having someone tell me this is who you should love via algorithm, like Match.com shit. Once you start doing that, you've taken the risk out of love, and risk is required for love in Lacanian thought. Like you need the danger, you need the terror that goes with it. And the same would be true of, cause he's not really in Butler's camp when it comes to how genders works or set up. Lacanian system, very different. And even I would say in Zizek's take on it, even more different. But it is a series of contingent sort of creative moments that end up producing whatever combination of things you are. I can get with this. This is, I think, a very trans-affirming thing. His language of it, less so. And he said it in a way to be specifically polemic and like weird on it, to try to get, I mean, I believe he did. He's very good at that, and he knows how to say these things, but it's, yeah.
I might have just read too little Zizek to actually go through. Somehow I just can't deal with his tongue. I can't. It's tickling the inner side of my head.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's why, and I've posted a whole bunch of PDFs in here. These are very, I think, Zizek at his best. Some of it's more fun. Living in the End Times, I think, is very, very solid. Violence, Big Idea, Small Book series, very, very good. But the rest are like really, really solid things. Fantastic stuff. Yep. All right. He has become a stereotype of himself. Yes, that is a good way to put it. I have seen his talk with Pussy Riot. I actually do think the letters, comradely greetings. I have the letters. I'm a big fan of what Pussy Riot was doing, and I think the conversations are interesting. He is, it's again, things are more complicated. The sad part is that he's becoming a stereotype of himself, and I think it's a shame, to be frank. But let's try to finish this fucking paragraph today. We're getting close. It is here, the revolutionary pole. It is here that art accedes to its authentic modernity, which simply consists in liberating what was present in art from its beginnings, but was hidden underneath aims and objects, even if aesthetic, and underneath recodings or axiomatics. The pure process that fulfills itself, that never ceases to reach fulfillment as it proceeds. Art as experimentation. And it is going to be the thing we're going to be talking about in a moment with science too. This is what they see as the underlying stuff. Again, desire, has always been captured in one way or another. Doesn't mean that desire in production wasn't this way always. It just is captured by various social milieu. The socius, the earth socius captured desire in particular ways that never quite got to the point of the disjunctive or the conjunctive, certainly never got to the point where a body without organs was necessarily formed or even part of the process meaningfully. Not really. Desire was directly captured. That's how that worked. Well, then under the despotic, desire still operating as it does, but captured in its process. And then under capitalism, things become more revealed, more aware. And the same is true of art. We're able to see the process underneath it that actually exists, that it's pure process. Now, there are aims and objects that fall back on. And again, this goes back to the way that we operate socially. We're not ever going to get away from the idea of representation. That's not the goal. Don't have a goal. Stop that. Stop that. It's we're not supposed to all go schizophrenic. Okay? Not the thing. Instead, it's to understand what the difference is between when representation or objects and goals crush art, the process of art, the creative, experimentative process, or when the experimentative process crushes representation, symbolism, large scale. Doesn't mean getting rid of it. It means subordinating it, crushing it, controlling it. Are we in service of desire as it crushes representation? Or are we in service of representation as it crushes desire? Desire as it crushes representation, or representation as it crushes desire. Yeah, I said that right. And that's the thing that we're driving at. Art exists in this weird, fuzzy way. And there is art that's made without goal. We can add a goal later. Sure, that's great. But is it art in service of the process? Is it art freely experimenting? Or is it in service of a goal, in service of a product, an end, an industrialization, a meaning, a specificity? Or is it something that just is whatever it ends up being? Because it will end up being something, and then that meaning is subordinated to desire. How's that work?
Like punk music. Like punk music, you know?
Oh, well, like punk music until the Sex Pistols and Blink-182, but yes, because it ends up getting captured. But then at the same time, like again, music, art, all of these things at some point becomes captured, and then it morphs, it changes, it shifts. It becomes unenjoyable to some people. House and techno music went very, very hyper commercial. And then like dubstep shows up. People did not like dubstep, by the way, at first. A lot of people don't remember how fucking absolutely people did not get into that right away. But yeah, it was cool. And then it was co-opted. That's how it works. And then more had to be found. Vaporwave. Vaporwave became co-opted. That's how it works. This is the setup. Pop music has gone through itself an odd resurgence of having like being top of the charts and then also falling second fiddle to country, which became pop, and then also falling like this is the process of things. And so the question is, are you making art to make money, to make this, to do that? Or are you doing something and then it ends up being something? There's a difference. It's incredibly subtle things.
So it's the philosophy of art is not of how kind of like the Platonic, representation of things, of forms, right? But it's about how you do it, right? How you do this art, right? The doing kind of thing, right?
Well, they end the sentence of what art is. At its best, as they see it, and it's art as experimentation. This does not mean art as trial and error looking for success. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
It means art that makes the new, that engages with the unknown, that's open to what the fuck ever. It's art as laboratory.
Have you heard of noise music in Japan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a weird genre, by the way. I've been listening to it, and it's kind of weird. Like it puts you on odds. Like like noise music, Japanese noise music, or like they use like very kind of like odd instruments, right? Like to people who never know about like the Japanese scene, like they have noise music. It's not rock, right? It's not Japanese rock, but it's kind of like odd, you know?
It's kind of rock, but it's also, again, Death Grips. I'm going to use Death Grips as my example for this. Death Grips makes music the way that they want to try to make music. It's exceptionally experimental. It was exceptionally experimental. It wasn't trying to reinvent hip hop. That wasn't the goal for them. They weren't trying to make a new kind of fucking rap or anything like that, or a new kind of rock, punk. I've heard a lot of names put onto it. They were just trying to make something that was new. And a lot of people do this. They were just doing that. That's art. That's art. Art is experimentation and trying the new. Klosowski, there's a really interesting piece in Living Currency. A lot of people pass over it because one of the things Klosowski brings out that I actually really think is a shame that DNG didn't go further into in Anti-Oedipus. It's kind of a important big deal. That's fine. How does a factory get made? Well, it doesn't just stand up and then run day one. Nothing does. Everything in capital and industrialization requires experimentation. Experimentation is built into failure. They call it failure rate. They call it cost, like sunk cost. Because if I'm going to make a sticker factory, there's a million things that go into making that sticker factory. And when it finally gets stood up, there's a lot of wasted money spent on it. It's always the way it works. But here's the thing. That money wasn't wasted. It was necessary to get to that final product. So they don't call it waste in capital. It's not how they refer to it. But money and time and everything that is spent towards experimentation and anything but industrialization is seen as waste, is seen as a pure expenditure that's just wasting everyone's time if it doesn't yield something. If it doesn't yield an end result, I recommend Living Currency. Big fucking time. Super big time. Klosowski's Living Currency. Short fucking book. 100% worth reading. But that's what we're talking about, is experimentation. For the new. Doing something new. Trying something. Not sure that what the fuck will happen. This is supposedly what capitalism is founded on. Of course, it's the opposite. The innovation paradox. Every business that sort of becomes huge did something brand new in order to get there, but as soon as they're there, they are terrified to do anything new and they just harden until they fucking die. It's every business that's ever existed. That thing that happens, it's really fascinating in capitalism and art and everything. This is the process of things. Are you doing it for capital? Well, you're chasing someone else's goal that's already been made in a line that's already been set up. Whatever it is. Are you doing something new and experimenting? That's a different beast. Very different beast. Very different beast. And that's the phrasing they use. That's the ending. Art as experimentation. If there is a thrust underneath all of it, is to get at that. It is not about being trial and error towards a goal. It is production of the new. Not sure what the fuck will happen. The moment you try to attach a goal to it, you're no longer experimenting. The moment you have metrics against it, you're not experimenting. You're experimenting to a goal. You're fine-tuning. But you've already made it. You've already decided what you're building. You're already in the paranoiac side of things. This is engaging with the unknown entirely. That's a different beast. Is it like reinventing the wheel? It's about not caring about the wheel being invented at all. Building a better mousetrap is being aware that there's a mousetrap and trying to do it slightly better and make it more efficient. You've already created and you know where you're at. You've already aligned yourself, your category, and your paranoid position is set. And you may do it. Good for you. Go make a couple bucks, I guess. Whatever. But that's not interesting or new. It's not experimentation, not really. And this is important because as they're talking about this, they're going to be talking about this in the same vein as that for science. That's how science works. Science breaks everything. It's refining or it's brand new. Refining or brand new. And that's what we'll be getting into next week, not today. Half of art is made from the spines of beetles. Are you making a comment on pigment? Because that's a very good pigment comment. You can replace half of art with sawdust, actually, and people don't notice. Bread joke. God damn it, Quat. So nostalgia for large properties may impede one's ability to make art. May. Yes. Will, I wouldn't say. May. It's again, are you trying to make something new and taking pieces from things? You can do that. I have seen railroad ties in an art exhibit. It was in, I saw it when I was traveling through Malmo. It was this minimalist artist who like changed how minimalism sort of operated in art. That works. But again, I'd say soup cans. Like when they hit the commentary that they had, what their art was and the way they function. They were recaptured, sure. But what are you using the thing for? Are you trying to make something that sells because you want to take popular properties and go, hey, so what if Doctor Who was actually in Star Wars? It might go something like this. And then you draw that for a t-shirt and good for you. And it's capital. That's the paranoiac position. That's nostalgia being weaponized. But using nostalgia in interesting, weird ways, I mean, that's what gave us Vaporwave in the first place, or Mallwave, or any of the other dozens of things that come up. The whole point is that are you making something new and engaging with the unknown? You can use all sorts of pieces. Everything is just ultimately medium at that point. Or are you trying to recreate it or build towards it? Is your goal that thing? That ruins it.
It reminds me of the previous kind of pages, right? Where the disinterested love, right? But a revolutionary disinterested love, I guess. It's kind of like not an axiomatic. It kind of revolve around like not an aim, right? You're not establishing an aim, but you kind of like experimenting with art, right? It's not for the subject group or for the subjugated group, I guess. It's something that is without a goal. Like the inflatable costumes, right? I like the art in inflatable costumes, right? Because it doesn't like reflect any character, right? Besides sharks, frogs, these kind of things, right? It doesn't have a specific character, right? And it's kind of, there's no goal. There is no kind of goal or sign or semiology, right? Vicious circle. There's no this kind of thing, And, that's art and what should be disinterested love, revolutionary love, I guess. Disinterested love.
Yes. It's embracing the process, not the goal. It's enjoying the love and the newness and the thing without the demand that it be this or head towards that or do that thing. Could fan fiction be it? Fan fiction can be revolutionary, can also generally not be very much that at all, and is only paranoiac and fascising just because of what it is. But these things can go all sorts of directions. There's all sorts of odd things that people can do with stuff. Do I have examples off the top of my head? No, but you can go find them. People make really weird things, and really weird things get made.
One of the reactionary kind of characters, right? In kind of like the one of the reactionary art, right? That turned to be art, like true indices and true things. Do you remember in McDonald's ad? I'm sorry, but like, do you remember in McDonald's ad this Moon Man who kind of like play piano, like the Moon Man?
I know Moon Man. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember what's happened to him?
Oh yeah.
He's a fictional character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on those websites where that happened. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what arguably like this kind of turning to be a reactionary, like Moon Man he's previously reactionary. He's kind of charming, but he's turned to be kind of reactionary kind of guy who.
Well, and again, it's all a question of what it's in service of and what you're doing, because the art and it's are you in service of closing off? Are you invested in the structure of the thing versus the thing itself? It's one of the reasons like Vaporwave really early on even used Moon Man a lot. There's a handful of music videos that really played into that, and it was discursive and odd and something that sort of pushed new connections and new things, because it's again about not knowing that next step. It's about not knowing if it's where it's going to go. It might lead somewhere fashy. It might not, but that's the point. If you know that it's not going to lead somewhere fashy, it's actually pretty fashy to say that. So it kind of fucks with you. You have 50 Shades of Grey, fan fiction of Twilight, which is Mormons everywhere. Mormons everywhere writing all kinds of weird shit. And they're all fan fiction of Mormonism. That's how I consider it.
Yeah, was it Marcellus who brought up that thing about Moon Man?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think I know what you're referring to about Amp Lemon's video about Moon Man.
Yeah, and I watched the text, like how they changed the character. The character was very charming, like at the beginning of the 80s. Like I watched the ad. Like if you watch any Moon Man ad, it's very charming, right? It has this kind of 80s vibe. Although I am not born in the era of the 80s, but it has this charming, right? Charm, like, and Moon Man was a charm kind of like character, but he's turned to this character that is kind of like this unlikable.
Yeah, but I remember.
Character. But this is I
remember that the main point of that was that Moon Man is one of the very few characters that has been reclaimed to the public domain, but mainly because it made him too much of a racist meme. And he said that obviously this is not a good thing, but it is interesting that this actually can happen.
What? I forgot the video, but like he's turned to this racist kind of like jerk. Like he's turned to this from charming to this racist kind of like guy, which is kind of heartbroken. But this is kind of like this is the nature of capitalism. This is the nature of the Yeah,
but he goes through how it used to be from the old opera Jack the Knife, and they made it to Mac the Knife or McDonald's with the moon guy. And then they eventually made a racist meme out of him online after the commercial stopped playing. And then McDonald's just started disowning him completely because, no, we do not want to be associated with that, so they did not renew it. And he said that this is one of the very few examples of when a public domain property has been republic domain, so to speak, even if it is for a very, very bad reason. But it's interesting that it did happen.
Yeah, because some people did like, turn him to some people, some aggregate, some molar aggregate turned him to some what they want to turn him, and that's like the nature of the art. You can turn it to a reactionary pole and you can turn it to a revolutionary pole. And the people who in the internet apparently turned him to a reactionary, a racist character, kind of like Pepe the Frog, which is weird discourse. Like I like this discourse. Like it's a weird and fascinating discourse. Like to delve in, you know? How kind of like these kind of characters reclaimed and how it turns like it's weird discourse. Like it's very weird. It's odd. Like
Yeah. I don't yeah, I don't know much to add there. But with that, we are hitting the 2-hour mark, and that is a whole paragraph. Next week, we will be doing science and how it's also revolutionary or not, and also how the same pole operates there. It's almost like this, we'll start to see, it carries through all these things. Wow, it's almost like this sort of operates in things, but it'll be fun. Science is going to be really interesting. I highly recommend joining us. On Thursdays, we do have our Klosowski reading, and I should be streaming tomorrow, Friday. Friday, we're doing the Fold, by the way, looking to at least. And this weekend, I should be streaming again. Operation Inflation has been just all my time, and I've been just too sick. I fucking spent yesterday trying to write an essay about everything that's happening with Congress and the Senate and everything, and it's just, I couldn't get anything out of my brain. So this is the best I got right now. Swedish tacos as art. Do you know in Sweden, they don't do sour cream. They put creme fraiche on their tacos because they are heathens and never value standing in the light of the Lord. It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever had in my life. When you don't know it's creme
Actually,
fraiche.
even I understand that is stupid. Yes, it's supposed to be sour
fucking
cream.
gross.
Yes.
It was, and it was like, I was like, cool. Someone took me. I was like, oh, cool. Cause I was out from LA, and whenever you visit from anywhere, I've stopped doing this because I started to realize I was also doing it. When people visit from somewhere, don't take them to have their food. That's not a thing people want to do when they travel. Ever. Don't take someone from LA and go, hey, you have a lot of Mexican food out there. Let's try our version of your food. I'm sure you'll love it. We won't. No one ever will. Ever. Stop doing that. But they did that, and I got just normal tacos, and I thought it was sour cream, and it was creme fraiche, and I wanted to vomit. It was awful. It's awful. It's up there with like that time I got tricked into eating balut. God damn it. So gross. Why would tacos have sour cream in the first place? Because sour cream is awesome. You were serious. Sour cream is incredibly common on tacos, burritos, tostadas, everything. In actual Mexican food. Also Taco Bell, but real Mexican food too. Like, really normal to have sour cream in everything. You should, by the way. Sour cream is delicious. Creme fraiche is the sweet kind. Sour cream is the sour kind. The difference. Sour cream is phenomenal. And it's like genuinely, deeply authentic, but also super yummy. God damn it. Yeah, you need this. The acid in the sour cream is sort of needed as part of it. Mexican places I've been to only do protein, onion, tortilla sort of deal. For me, it's if I'm in a taco stand and they don't have super burritos, I'll pass. But you'll get it in Mexico. Yeah, in Mexico, fish and shrimp tacos have cream. They have soured cream. It's soured cream. I haven't had creme fraiche, like straight up cream, thickened cream with sweet cream in any tacos in Mexico ever. Or burrito. Is the O stream over? We're talking about tacos now. It's a taco stream. We're now on the taco stream. I've got to get going, and I'm going to continue to get sideswiped with all kinds of fun convos.
Is
Sorry?
Outerrun coming Spinoza today?
I don't know. Was it scheduled?
Last week he scheduled on Tuesday, since we are.
It doesn't look like there's anything right now.
Well, we talked about it last
Spinoza time. Tuesday at 2:00. So yeah, any minute now, in theory.
Okay, because
wait, that's FQuell created that one.
Because we're flying on Thursday at the usual Spinoza time, so Outerrun had to move it. But you were writing articles about Congress and stuff without telling me. Anyway, I was just disappointed.
Why can't you play Minecraft?
Because when I press this, it just automatically controls my character.
Yes.
And it keeps making me do this.
It's going
Even
up.
though I don't do it.
Bring me your Switch. Connect those and bring me your Switch. All right, I have to troubleshoot a Switch now. Minecraft controllers. So because we had a really weird thing happen here. For the first time in a long time, politicians were not asking us to sacrifice, but were telling us that they were going to stop us from sacrificing. Right? And whenever that happens, you should be scared to shit about everything that's happening. And that was kind of
Chuck Schumer is already kind of like, I don't know. He's caving, I guess. And
we don't really know. We don't. Again, what they did is they have their constituents, which are not people, they're corporations. It just so happens that the two senators from Vegas, right? The two senators of Nevada, which is Vegas. Oh, look, air travel's a problem. Oh, I wonder what city that affects more than any other city in the country. Oh, it's these guys. Oh, wow. We really have to do something about SNAP. Liars. Tim Kaine, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine. Those four senators. Otherwise, it's Republican senators. Those four Democrat or independent senators represent the primary places that boats and submarines are manufactured and worked on for the military in America. Like 15 to 20% of all the manufacturing in Maine, which is King's state, one of the guys on this, is in one specific shipbuilding company that stopped getting payments because of government shutdown. Like, this is why they did it. And it's incredibly frustrating every time I see people have this, why are they doing this? It's because I wrote this piece and I tried to make it tie into The Great Gatsby, which I think a lot of people haven't read since high school, but The Great Gatsby is phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal. Really interesting read. Really good story about specifically how the elites, it's not a party you buy your way into. The parties that the Gatsbys hold have two kinds of people in it, people who are invited and people who aren't. Because if you need an invitation, you don't belong there. That's the phrasing. That's the way they talk about it. And so for Trump to hold a Gatsby party is fucking crazy on multiple levels. But that's what's happening is we were invited because we don't belong. We were brought into the conversation because we're not part of the conversation. We are not the thing that matters. The thing that matters are these handful of corporations. And I will give absolute credit to the brunt of the Democrat Party who did not cave on this. Yeah. Like genuinely, it's actually really a thing that's, I'm amazed that this didn't happen sooner. I expected them to give in after 3 days, but it took 40 days. And in those 40 days, what they saw is that the airlines were going to be fucked. They saw that all of their defense contractors were fucked and Vegas was fucked. And that's all it took. That's all it took for these pieces of shit to basically knuckle under to big business.
So now they reopened the government now. Am I right? Like I never
They've passed a law. They've passed a continuing resolution to enable that, and that's it. So, but again, it hasn't gotten to Congress, and it hasn't gotten to the Senate, and it hasn't gotten to Trump. Will it probably pass? Yes. I haven't been paid attention to today, but there's a lot of clever lefties are calling the extreme right and letting them know that I won't vote for you if you capitulate with the left wing, which is a good strategy, by the way, because a handful of people are freaking out that they're working with the left. And so, yeah, but it's, we're going to be back in a few days, in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we're going to be back in exactly the same position.
Which is deportation for
oh no, that's continuing people. Anyway. No, that's continuing regardless. What I'm saying is we'll be back in the same place because the ACA subsidies are being discontinued. And so these pieces of shit, every single one of these people, just garbage human beings. Like John Fetterman is like literally awful. But like all of these people, they're voting to allow all these, a huge number of Americans to basically lose their insurance. I'm not alone. I have 2 kids and our insurance is going up to an unaffordable amount.
Wait, my insurance?
No, your insurance is good. We live in Washington State. Who takes care of kids? They don't take care of adults in the same way. And so, we're fortunate we can probably handle it. Maybe. Other people can't. Most people can't do a $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month increase. Businesses, like I for those of you who don't know, I had a business. I had my own thing as a bunch of programmers. It was a long story. It's a long story, but we had full benefits because I was like, if I'm going to have a company, I want everyone to be taken care of. Full benefits, eye care, everything. It was great. And over the course of that, I was stunned at how much money it cost me per head. And at some point, it's not sustainable. Well, that's where we're at. People are, when it's costing a company $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 to insure a single person on their payroll, they're not going to fucking do that. Like, they're going to dock their pay for it, or they're going to lessen the plan. They're going to put them all on Kaiser nightmare shithole plan. You get fucked. You get fucked on that. And so, like, in 6 weeks, we're going to be in exactly the same place we are right now, except Americans will be even worse off. Even worse off. And that's it. It's really wild. And so it's, it's one of the things in Anti-Oedipus they go through and they talk about the way capitalism functions as a continual deferral process. It is the thing that keeps capitalism working, that we are taught from very young ages that desire should not be consumed immediately, that it has to be held off, that we have to care about rewards later, take pain now. And that's the necessity for capitalism. And it is. And it's a thing that you see in everyone. This is one of the reasons I have a lot of empathy for Trump voters. And I know it gets me a lot of shit from people who apparently are monsters, but I think they're humans too. And a lot of their stuff is they're raised and told by family, parents, God, country, that their job is to be a good citizen and do the thing, to follow the mythology, the difficult journey that the pilgrims came to come here and murder a bunch of Indians. And then also the going cross country in wagons, paying now for rewards later, or immigrants who come to the country. You just want free shit. Don't you understand? Immigrants need to suffer for a while so their kids can have better lives. An immigrant shouldn't just have a good life. Like, this suffering for pain later that's built into the Christian sensibility, the Protestant Calvinist bullshit that America was created on, that's so in our culture, comes in a million ways, but the Republicans have it in like spades. They're very good at it. And they happily will burn their own people at the stake to keep themselves warm because they've always abused that. Democrats have never been willing in the same way to sacrifice. They middle road it like Obama did, right? Where it's like, hey, we could maybe fight really hard for like all the things we want with single payer healthcare, but let's do incremental change and then improve upon that in the future. Because in the future is really where the reward is. That's deferred enjoyment. That's the thing that's Oedipal. That's the Oedipalized nature and structure of capitalism. And so as you start talking about this horrifying economy, this horrifying situation we're in, this nightmare of people starving to death and also working a job or two, and all of these things is fucking nuts. And on top of it, there lies across the board where now that we have, right, this deal taking place and that the Senate has passed it, which ostensibly means there's nothing in the way, Trump's still not letting SNAP money go. They're still not letting people get food because he knows his voters will take it because pain now, pleasure later. That's why Republicans talk about it like it's for the best. Look, it's for the best. Right? You got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. It's collateral damage. We've got to improve things. It's going to suck for a while. That's the way it works, because their lives have been filled with that. And when you look at their lives, you see people and you may go, oh, they have money, they have homes. Their families don't talk to them. They live miserable existences. They all have stories about how their kids aren't talking to them, how they've lost relationships, how they have nothing, and they're going to die penniless, because the horrifying reality is they worked all of their lives for what? For nothing, a nursing home and a slow death. And so as people exist and as people are conditioned in the capitalist system to be doing these things, the wealthy don't care, because again, we needed an invitation. Great Gatsby, he writes about, the phrasing was really beautiful, the way Fitzgerald put it, that there were people at the parties who had the look as if they were at an amusement park, not a home. That phrasing has stuck with me, because if you've ever been to a rich person's, and I don't mean a rich person, I mean like a rich person, crazy rich person's home. One, you were invited. I was. Two, that's what you did. They have shit that's fucking crazy. They have fucking paintings on the walls. It's the founder of Legendary Films. I went to his house a couple times. Really nice guy, Bill, a really good dude. Really nice guy, genuinely. But he had charity poker things at his house. And he had paintings of artists I love just sitting stacked against the walls. The house was the place.
Stacked,
just sitting against the wall against each other, because he just wasn't sure where he wanted them that week, because they hadn't been put back up. He lived in Charlie Chaplin's house. He bought Charlie Chaplin's house. So it was like this insane history and stuff, and he had stuff framed, and he had stuff from it's insane. And you go around. It was like I was at this fucking amusement park or a museum looking at things. I was in awe. The people who belong there, one, didn't get invitations. They just showed up. Because of course they were going to be there. They have to be there. They belong there. I didn't belong there. But the people who did belong there, they don't give a fuck about any of this. At most, they notice it in terms of the value ostentatious side that it shows. But mostly they're looking at who's sitting with who's talking to who, and what deals are being done. They exist in a place that belongs, not someone who's visiting or someone who is invited. And Gatsby's parties were about this. They were always about this. It was always about letting the non-elite know, doesn't matter how much money you have, bud, doesn't matter. You still need an invitation to get in.
Okay, Brooks, we're gonna do composition for murals when it comes to this piece. I don't care what you said. We're gonna do it. Okay.
All right.
We're gonna turn it into visual language.
But this is the thing: is the people who belong, and they know this, and everyone else needs invitation, and that to me is the scream of elitism that amazingly you hear like the Trump voters rail against, but then vote for explicitly again, to the point where he had a Great Gatsby fucking party. Like I'm not even sure how to even talk about that. He had a fucking Great Gatsby party. Like it's amazing. It's art. But as people starve and as people continue to starve, they're not part of the discussion. They have to be invited. They aren't the choosers, the deciders. At Bill's house, Bill, good dude. My boss, John Landau, who introduced me to Bill, John never got a fucking invitation. John just went over whenever he felt like it, because he's John fucking Landau. That's how that worked. Like, if you belong, you belong. You don't get invited. Invitation means something else. And it's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand about what being part of the system or invested in it as deeply means to people who are outside of it. Because we are outside of the capital system. We're in the money system. And that's, to bring it back to Anti-Oedipus, one of the great swindles of our time is that we consider money and capital to be measured the same. We measure them the same, as if they're the same thing, and they fucking aren't. Capital works drastically differently, functions differently, does different shit than the money you have in your pocket or you buy cigarettes or food or pay rent with. That's not how capital functions. Capital doesn't do any of those things. It's when people talk about Bitcoin and they say, oh, Bitcoin is great, but I just wish I could have something that I can spend that isn't an investment. And it's like, you can't have both. It's one or the other, because that's how it works. They're not the same thing. They're different registers of society, necessarily different registers of society. You can't have them do the same thing because they don't work the same. That setup fools us, tricks us. So when we hear that Elon Musk is going to have $1 trillion, it's like, wow, he's got so much more than me. No, he's got something different than you. He's got capital. You have money. They have power. You pay rent. They own. You get food. There's a difference. And that fundamental difference is something that I think as they do these things and they make it more and more clear. And again, I think these 8 senators made it nakedly clear that they don't give a fuck. These people didn't start trying to do this on like November 1st when their first constituent went hungry. They were doing it on the 8th and 9th because that's when the airline industries, tourism, and shipbuilding groups got to them and said, you're fucking finishing this now. That's what did it. They don't give a fuck about any of us. They could care less. And so when they say to us, instead of asking us to sacrifice, which they do always, that's all they do. Oh, promise. Look, vote for me. I promise it'll be worth your time later. I know you don't have any reason to vote for me, but please, I'm Kamala, blah, blah, blah. Fucking amazing. They ask you to sacrifice everything. When they finally tell you, hey, for you, we're doing this, realize that's the lie. That's the lie and the worst kind of lie, because they don't give a fuck about you. You have to be invited.
I tried to call Chuck Schumer's office to kind of like, to do something, but like, I don't know.
I couldn't get through. Through. The switchboard was swamped. People are really pissed. And I think this is one of those things that like, don't call everyone a Democrat and don't totalize this, because that's not how this works. This is a very particular shift in a particular type of Democrat, and these blue dog right wing. There's a reason Fetterman's in there and these others who have never really been Democrats, and they've always really pushed for occasionally progressive things, but they're really economically on the right. They're doing this, and you need to be aware of it, because as others are fighting this, and AOC, Bernie, for example, just 2 simple examples, screaming about this. Bernie put out multiple videos yesterday. He went on the floor. This is a mistake. What the fuck are you doing? He's upset, and he's not alone. A ton of senators are really pissed about this because it was all for nothing. And they know that this is the most leverage they'll ever have, because now that they've given in, even if they stick it out next time, everyone will assume that they're not going to. And so this is it. This is it.
That's terrified the shit out of me. Like, usual business as usual, and Trump will do, the Republican Party will do will step on the Democrat Party. Like after this, but we have to try. We have to try other means. These are the most stupid people. These people are the most stupid.
Yes.
Stupid. Like stupid.
Yes. They're not. Because again, you're not their constituent. I'm not. They don't give a fuck about people. They don't give a fuck. What they care about is their constituents who are, and again, it's entirely possible, and I wouldn't psychoanalyze them otherwise. They believe they're doing the right thing. Why would we argue otherwise? They believe they're doing the right thing. They think that all of this will get us in a better place. The airlines will be better. People will be able to see their families. We won't have to bail out the airlines. They won't collapse. Tourism in Vegas won't collapse. The shipbuilding industries and industrial bases of New Hampshire and Maine and Virginia won't collapse. And these things are better for everyone. They probably justify it to themselves in that way. Why wouldn't they? It's just perfect for them.
Yeah. We need to not abandon the Democrat Party either way, but we need to kind of fight viciously to kick these fuckers out.
Well, I got to tell
fuckers.
you, there's a very good chance we're going to see Schumer gone. He's going to get primaried, my money, by AOC because he's weak now, and now that's when you strike. And if she wants to be president someday, that's the next step. She goes senator, does it for a few years, and then heads on to be president. That's my money. These people are going to be primaried across the board. But also, 2 of them are retiring. Like, it doesn't matter to them. Like, if you can imagine,
I hope that
the worst kind of ass cancer is all you can hope for them.
Yeah.
Awful, awful people just toying with lives.
Yeah.
It's just wild. But again, the thing that's going to be interesting, and it's the thing to watch for, as far as I know, it hasn't happened yet. Congress has to pass this continuing resolution, and then Trump has to sign it. And the stuff in it, even though it does nothing for Democrats at all, like it does nothing for anything I give a fuck about. It doesn't help anyone. It has language in it that's just like laws on top of laws. But one of the things it does that's not a law on top of a law is it says that all the layoffs have to be fully undone. And there's a good chance Trump won't do that. There's a chance actually Trump won't sign this because it requires him to rehire all of those people. And it also says that he can't fire anyone else through the end of January. So that may not pass the Republicans in the fucking House at all. Like it was, if you didn't watch the vote, Republicans came out last night and they were like 2 or 3 of them, like hardline right-wing nutcases were like, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And they were angry about it. It's crazy. It's crazy. But there's a good chance Trump won't sign it. If he doesn't, then this actually ends up being a very good thing, to be perfectly frank. He will probably sign it. But it's our hope. That's all I've got. That's my hope, is that it's too much for Trump to sign. But ultimately, yeah, the Dems are in a really bad place. They're in a really bad place. This is how, it's every election that existed this last week, every election in the country went Dem. And there's nowhere that Republicans did not underperform. There are places where they won, but where they won by margins way below expected in every one of those counties. This was extraordinary across the board in America. And to have the Democrats see that and then do this in order to basically stifle and castrate everybody is insane. It's insane. And this is, again, Tim Kaine, who was going to be VP under Hillary. This to me is like the last gasps of what I would say is that old way of thinking. And God, I want them all gone. I just want them all gone. Just the worst.
Yeah.
If Trump signs, that means the Epstein files will come out, right? And Trump doesn't want that, does he?
Well, we don't know. So Mike Johnson has claimed he's now going to bring in the woman, the senator from Arizona. It hasn't happened yet. And he also lies a lot. And they may block it on other parliamentary means. So it's like, again, it's one of those things that's like, technically, yes, that would be the next thing that would happen. And Trump really doesn't want that. So yeah, that could be another reason. But also they could just say, no, we're not doing it, even if Congress demands it. It's like, because we live in a nightmare land where people don't understand how the division of powers is supposed to work or why government is built the way it is. It's incredible.
Hey, Brooks, can I ask?
No.
Right,
sure,
then
of
I
course.
won't.
No, of course.
Because I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, because he was a little bit dumbfounded about how is it that Trump can do so much and be accused so much the second term around. My understanding is that it's because Republicans have been nominating and appointing so many judges
Yep.
on most federal circuits they can. which means that Donald Trump can push through pretty much anything he wants, and there is no judicial authority to correct his.
Yeah,
how do you say?
The whole
orders.
system is built. The whole system is built on an adversarial idea that no one would willingly cede their own power. That the power you have in whatever position you have, you will exert into the world. This is what it's assumed. It's an adversarial system. So the framers of all of this presumed when they made all of this together that the justices wouldn't just give up or accede their will, that Congress wouldn't just accede their will. And for the last 60 years, and I mean it's 60 fucking years, the Republicans have spent time literally building everything that we're seeing in place, from getting not just judges, but by getting law school students in the 80s to join their societies, to prop them up so that way they could groom them to being particular types of lawyers, to being particular types of judges. Like all of the current, like all the people Trump put in the Supreme Court were all part of the heritage group. We're all part of these nightmare groups, and were bred by them and built by them from the ground up for this. And so when they started putting in, and again, the Democrats pussied out on this until the end of Biden's reign, which thank God, at least at some point they did it. But the Republicans literally just undid the filibuster and made it so they could just approve a shit ton of nominees and a single vote, which isn't ever supposed to be the case. It's supposed to be one at a time. It's how it was built. And they just went, we're just going to approve all of them. And they did that, which is fucking insane. For like, if I were to go back 10 years and say, hey, someday the Republicans are just going to do all of them at once, everyone would be like, no, they're too married to the system. Why would they ever do that? It's like, yeah, it's bullshit. So we have a really fucked up thing, and it puts us in really weird positions where, Justice Brown, who was the one who upheld the stop. Trump stopped sending out SNAP illegally and got sued over it. And the circuit court, the Ninth Circuit, said, yeah, you need to immediately do this. And the Trump admin and DOJ appealed. And Justice Brown, who is absolutely center-left-ish, certainly a lib, I think center-left is more fair, upheld the stay. And everyone was like, what the fuck is she doing? Because she's a justice. Well, how it works is all of the circuits each get their own justice, because there's a bunch of justices. In the Ninth Circuit, we have 9 justices. That's kind of how it works. And so the justice has like her cohort, almost like a business, like all of these guys report in. And so her job was to either uphold or let the group decide. The group being the rest of the Supreme Court. So by her upholding it until the next court can decide, she actually did the right thing. And it puts us in really fucked up political positions where there isn't really a right thing that feels good. It's a very complex explanation, because that's how much of a nightmare we're in when the executive branch that is supposed to be executing laws, it's executive branch. It's not an accident they called it that. Their job is to execute. But when they decide they're also going to make laws and become the judiciary, which they've decided, what do you do? Nothing. Nothing. And so the system literally wasn't made for this. And it took 60 years of very hard work by a small group of very wealthy billionaires and religious fanatics to get America to this place. And you can go back. It's amazing as a thing. You can watch when they started planning this, and they did it before Reagan. They knew what they were doing. And they did all of this very intentionally. And they did a whole bunch of illegal shit. They stole the election from Gore. I don't care what anyone says. It's an insane story. And Roger Stone and the same people who did the shit for Trump were involved in the Brooks Brothers riot in Florida, which caused them to steal the election from Gore. They stole the election from Gore, flatly, illegally too. But also with Reagan, they got Reagan to go behind the back of the Carter administration to bargain with Iran to not release the hostages until Reagan was elected in order to make sure that Carter looked terrible. They agreed. And then they did a whole bunch of treason with Iran-Contra. No one cared. Oliver North is a Fox News personality for a decade. Committed high treason to help Iran. No one cares.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm not American. I'm not that old. I'm 32. But I've known of those things for many, many years. It's not secret about the Iran-Contra affair or the vote rigging in Florida.
If you were to ask people in America, generally speaking, people don't know what Iran-Contra was. I mean that.
Didn't they just... Yeah, because you said yourself that North became a percent threat to Fox News.
Yeah. He's seen as a patriot.
But didn't he just own the entire thing rather than deny it?
He did. And people still don't know what it is. I had this conversation when he started having his Fox News show, and I was like, I can't believe someone who's like admitted to high treason is on Fox News. And they're like, what did he do? And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, and it's a lot of people. They just don't know stuff. They don't know what happened or who the Contras were. Like, they don't get any of this. It's a crazy, like, genuinely fucking super illegal fucking thing. They've heard of it. Yeah, they know the words, but they don't know what it was or the implications of it. They don't have a civic understanding of how governments work. If you haven't watched, there's this wonderful YouTube channel called The Necessary Conversation. I say wonderful, I should put it in quotes. It's a guy who's about my age and his sister who's about my brother's age, and they have parents in Middle America, Oklahoma, who are MAGA, and they are not. They're lefty, left-wing, anti-Trump kids. And so every week they kind of talk about stuff, and the dad's out of his fucking mind. Like the mom too, but she's like at least trying to be kind. But the dad says things like, if you're into democracy, you're into communism. We're here to kill communists, and you're a fucking communist. He says to his own son, like as a thing. And he says, because democracy is communism, and that's why he supports a republic. That's how fucking brain rotted that generation is. Like that's levels of brain rot. That's next level. You haven't seen this stuff? Yeah, we're gonna do a little thing. We're just gonna take a moment then. Let's see. Necessary conversation.
I've heard stories like that. I mostly remember I don't know if you've read the comic Preacher.
Oh yes. Oh God, yes. And I actually like the TV show too. I don't care what anyone says. I enjoy the TV show as well.
I only saw the first season, but anyway, I remember from the comic when Tulip asks her dad, like, why I gotta go to school? Well, you gotta learn fine words like republic and constitution, and you gotta learn about the communists too. Like, who are communists, Dad? Well, those are the people trying to take our guns.
Yeah. So this is here's a short. I shared it in the if you're not watching my stream, you should. This is fucking crazy. But this is the dad.
I definitely have watched this. So
I find this podcast cathartic because I have this with my family. So it's very nice to see that, kind of to live vicariously through someone else. But
put up more communist bullshit than anybody I've ever seen.
I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a communist. Admit it.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know why you're on this weird communist thing. I'm telling you, Trump just pardoned a Chinese spy. How am I the communist?
You're either a Republican American or you're a communist. You by definition are a communist.
Listen to what I'm asking you. What would you say is somebody who pardoned a Chinese spy?
That's not right.
I got to know all the details, which you don't give me.
Okay. Well, but I give them to you, and then you just say they're not real.
No, I'm not going to watch another one of your damn cut and paste videos.
Okay, here's the deal, Chad. With these ICE videos you are showing us and you're showing me, have you seen any takedowns in LA? Has Haley seen any takedowns?
No, because I go from here to the Beverly Center to work out and to Whole Foods to buy my groceries. I'm not in any areas where this is happening. But these 2 or 3 of these videos come out every day.
I would love for you to record me. Then I would.
Yeah, you're letting communism grow up right around your neck. You put up.
The dad is absolutely out of his fucking skull.
ICE agents are reaching into the car, ripping the baby out of the mother's arms, and the husband starts to have a seizure while it's happening. Is this, in your mind, what ICE should be doing, Mom?
What ICE should be doing?
What's the reason they did it?
Yeah, why?
You left that out.
Okay.
What the I do that's illegal?
You do understand. ICE is now detaining American citizens. Did you see the video this week of ICE? They're driving in their car down the street. They ram into a civilian's car. They then stop their car, get out, and drag the civilian out of her car, saying that she rammed them. That civilian was a U.S. citizen who they let go like 6 hours later with no charges. But they accosted her, assaulted her, dragged her out of her car, and kidnapped her. U.S. citizen. It doesn't matter what people are doing, if they've done crimes or not. Most of them have not.
Well, I tell you what, the big blue wave started all this. Now ICE is going to turn it around.
The big blue wave happened this week. How did that start any of this?
Yeah, well, it's because that's what everybody's been talking about for a month, not 1 week.
Dad, your arguments on this show have turned more and more to gibberish. They make no sense whatsoever.
What do you mean, no gibberish? I'm not. The one who's full of gibberish is you.
I don't understand.
If you haven't watched this podcast, it's excellent.
Why you hate
I'm
Nancy
sorry,
Pelosi?
Brooks, but I genuinely cannot believe that this is for real.
Oh, I'll let you know.
These people has been famous
No,
online.
I mean, I understand that it probably is, but
Oh no. See, if I were to be horrifying, I have this experience.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is this actually,
I'm an American, and my extended family is like this. The thing is that what they're doing right there in that clip is showing their investment in not only like not knowing about it, but also just flat out denying it, even if there is evidence. Like it would literally have to happen in front of them, in front of their own eyes, and even then, there's room for them in their minds and in their hearts to just not accept it.
I genuinely have moved to the position that I believe people make jokes about lead paint or lead in the pipes. I take it more extreme. I think World War II created a generation of trauma that at the time people didn't believe in treating and treated it as people do. And we are currently being led by the generation raised by those people. And that's who this makes. And I can't get around any of this. We're going to keep watching a couple more because you got to, if you don't, 100% of all of this is not a bit. This show, one, I've watched it. This guy's not a bit. I've watched him from the beginning. This is
very real.
It's so fucking real. It hurts my soul. Because this is, again, conversations I've had, my brother's had, other people I know with their families have had. This is if you have middle American parents.
For doing something, but not Trump for doing.
Here we go. One sec.
All right, I'm ready.
This is why I avoid talking politics with my father.
Oh.
I don't understand why you hate Nancy Pelosi for doing something, but not Trump for doing the exact same thing.
Because she did it for 40 years.
So it's just a length of time? Trump's only been doing it for a decade?
No, I think
Trump hadn't been doing it at all.
I think she focused on.
That's your bad news reporting again.
You're saying Trump hasn't been doing it at all. Mom and I talked this very week on our Wednesday episode about Trump pardoning the guy who founded Binance. That guy helped Trump get $2 billion in cryptocurrency. Then he just pardons him.
Good for him.
How do you not find that as corrupt as Nancy Pelosi doing insider trading?
Because no one's as corrupt as Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, wait a minute.
She's the worst. She's the worst Washington has ever had.
Okay, let's say it.
Hang on, Mom, hang on. I'm sorry, just let me make this point.
She's a pile of unmitigated shit. The best thing and the only justice in the world can be if she doesn't make it to 90.
Fuck me. Ugh, God.
I guess.
It's a trip.
Just like Archie Bunker and his son, right?
It is, except Archie Bunker had like a heart. Like I've had this. I've thought about this too because
of heart.
Archie Bunker changed throughout the series. His stance on transvestites, drag queens, which was a serious, like actually they did episodes in that era on that, and he became accepting. He became accepting of homosexuals. He changed it. His world was changing, and he ended up changing with it to the point where Edith, threatening to leave him at some point because of the sort of weird cheating and all that shit. He changed his relationship and how he respected his wife. He changed. This guy is
Bye Nancy Pelosi. She seek not
The old
to.
crabby bag is finally giving it up. Since she's fleeced the country for tens of millions of dollars by insider trading, now she's going to quit.
Yeah, she still has one more.
She's a rotten pile of shit.
I agree with you 100%. However, if you have that attitude about her, you have to have it about Trump as well. He has fleeced the country for billions of dollars.
No, I don't. You know why? You know the difference?
You don't have to yell.
What is it?
She got away with this murder for 40 years. He's done it for 2 or 3.
I love these
You
things.
constantly are talking about Joe Biden's pardons should all be invalidated because he used an auto pen. Because he didn't sign, he didn't even know who those people were that he was pardoning. Trump now, on camera, in a nationally televised interview, said this guy that he pardoned, he doesn't even know who he is.
I know. When I heard that, Dad and I were watching the interview. When he said that, I turned to your father. I said, "What did he just say?" I did say that. I don't understand that.
So do you believe that all of his pardons should be invalidated, just like you think Joe Biden should?
No.
Because he doesn't know who he's pardoning, just like Joe Biden didn't.
He didn't use the auto pen, but I do think that guy's was only like, 4 months or something?
So do you think all people who have 4-month sentences should just not have to go to jail?
No. But it was a very light sentence, so maybe he thought that.
It's a phenomenal, the whole thing is good. I really have to tell you, it's very good. And then I want to see if I can go
Get under
into
bed. I couldn't get under it.
Oh.
Your emails go to my trash sometimes. I don't.
I'm kind of
when you
afraid
had
to
us by
introduce this to my
2021.
parents because they're like hardcore liberal Democrats, and I just know that they would just binge watch the fuck out of this.
Yeah, they'd love it.
And you did all of this.
Brooks, before we continue,
Help me welcome to the stage.
Yes. Sorry, I'm looking for a specific part. I'll mute it while I do.
yeah, before we continue, can I just, I'm happy to stay along, but when you add this to the Anti-Oedipus playlist, that since we stopped reading the book like an hour ago or something, cut this section because
I will go in and I will consider it. The challenge is that this will just get added to that. I can put a note in
I
there,
know,
but if I cut it, then all of this goes away.
You don't need to delete it. Just
sadly, I do.
As someone who has followed along the playlist for the past 6 months, sometimes I've been listening for 2 hours and realized, oh wait, they're not gonna read another.
I think I did say I was done and we were done for the day earlier, but yeah, I'll make it.
I even specifically asked about it for that very reason. I'm just wondering. No, it's your stream. You can do what you want. I'm just wondering.
All right, this is.
I'm fine with this. I'm loving this. This is fun.
This is a. Let's see. It's the older one they want to go. They keep referring to. 1 second. It's the whole thing's wild. The shorts are the highlights. We'll do that because it's so horrifying. Come on.
On our simmer down, we had a controversial conversation about you and Dad hitting us with belts and yelling at us when we were kids.
No, you called it beating. I wanted to get this straight. We never beat you. We spanked you.
Okay.
I'm going to send you something. I was going to have Dad read this, but he bailed. So I'm going to have you read it instead. I'm emailing.
The Dad has quit the podcast midway through multiple times. Just doesn't stay. It's amazing.
I'm it to you right now.
There it is. There it is. I just got it.
Read it out loud.
Last week we had a conversation in our simmer down about getting
Brooks,
hit
did
with
you ever
a
see
belt.
that documentary in Canada where they took a bunch of people who didn't believe anything about like the residential schools and stuff, and then had them like hang out and live with some native Canadians?
Send it over. I'd love to see that.
When we were kids.
And you just kind of see the
guys-
dynamic between like there's some younger people in the group and they gradually change their minds even if they're like really hardcore, and then the two older white guys are just like nothing, like absolutely nothing can move them. I don't even remember what it was called. It might take a while.
1 second. Where is there's a moment that they're talking about here that I think is actually really fucking telling. Oh, the Dad is out of his fucking skull. Oh, it's so unreal. Let me see. I gotta fix this view for YouTube. Make sure that you guys can see.
You're communists. Accuse us of the same.
All right. Come on.
And eating, at least people have their food stamps. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
I'll take
Donald Trump is a rapist.
In the
Donald
Oval
Trump
Office.
raped women. What about that?
I'll take.
What's worse, getting a blowjob or raping women? Which one is worse?
Blowjobs in the. Oval
You guys
Office.
always ignore the shit that Donald Trump is fucking convicted of.
Oh, he's
Okay?
convicted of making a nice
He
ballroom.
forcefully
Goodness
raped
sake.
women.
Why isn't he in jail?
He probably raped children on Epstein Island, but you're worried
Oh,
about Bill
man.
Clinton?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
see,
Dad.
now you two sit there and go, you go down a trail, Mom and Dad, that we're not talking about. You just did that too.
I'm sorry?
No, Dad, you asked
I'm
why
sorry.
isn't he? Dad, you asked why
I'm
isn't
sorry.
he in jail?
This has nothing to do with fucking Epstein.
Okay.
He's a fucking criminal.
Wait. I got
You went off on a different trail, and then you accuse us of the same damn thing. The fact is, you and Chad are both communists, and that's the end of it.
Please.
It's all intertwined. He's a fucking he is a criminal.
Wait a minute, Dad.
Say.
You've called us communists now about 10 times in this
It's
episode.
enough.
Why do you think that?
Because you're communists.
Okay, but what leads you
Everything
to that
believe-
conclusion?
Everything you believe and spew out of your mouth is communism.
Which is?
It's what I told you. It's what they call democracy.
Okay, so you have no actual facts here to back this up.
Yeah, I do have
Let's-
a fact. You're a
Okay.
communist.
Okay. Can I say
As I said,
something?
just
Can I say
spewing
something?
nonsense with no base.
If you see me laughing, it is out of horrifying empathy. That's it. It's fucking amazing.
Basis whatsoever. All right.
Yeah. So
There-
do you.
Okay. I
Epstein-
literally
This is,
read you all the facts of every.
It's something, ain't it?
This looks like people confronting their parents from a cult they left decades ago.
Kind of true for all of us who left the home behind and moved. He moved to California. She moved to Texas. Yeah, they're in very different places.
Free topic that we discuss.
Yeah. Donald Trump was in cahoots with Epstein.
Okay, can I?
You
say
got
something?
all kinds of fucking factual evidence of that.
There are pictures of
There's
that.
photographic evidence, motherfucker.
Oh.
There's like 30 goddamn photos.
Our show, I know you never watch our show on YouTube or look
Wasn't
at
on
any
his
of the things that
airplane.
I make. Huh?
Wasn't on his airplane. Wasn't on his island. So you can all blow it out your ass, you communists.
He was at his
Please,
fucking
if you're
wedding.
gonna call my communist, you gotta go. I can't take it.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's like you're trying to make a joke that nobody's laughing at.
Nobody say it.
Shut up.
What?
Shut up.
Don't call him communist. Okay.
It doesn't bother me. I don't give a shit.
It's just pointless. It's just a
Let me
stupid
say
thing
this.
where
I
he's
would
trying
like
to
to
like
say
get
this.
one over on us, but it's
Well,
not
you
working.
talking about Epstein and Donald Trump is worthless.
Wait.
And it has no point.
You know what? I forgot I was going to open the show with something, and the communism thing kind of gets to it. I want Mom right now, both you and Dad. We're going to start with Dad. I'm going to ask you one question. Dad, what is your definition of MAGA?
What you talking about? What, the MAGA that we're a part of?
So just to correct you, Olivia, this is not watching Fox. These people don't think Fox is good. This is One America News, which if you haven't seen, I'm sorry for telling you about it because it makes Newsmax look like MSNBC.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
They are Republican, trying to bring back the Republic and get rid of democracy. And they are here to defend the United States of America against communism.
But what does it mean to you to be MAGA?
That I hate communists.
To make America the best we can make it again.
And if they take over the country and get their democracy that they want permanently, we're done.
So wait a minute. You're saying communists want
country's
democracy?
Democracy is nothing more than a nice word for communism. You laugh all you want. That
one got me. That one got me deep.
Do you realize that we are a republic and not a democracy?
Yes, we've
What? No, wait a minute. You said that last time. Do you think that means republic is Republican and democracy is
No.
Democrat?
I think republic means free.
Okay.
Okay, well, the real answer is that MAGA is white Christian nationalists. Racist, bigoted, homophobic, all of it.
No.
That's what you
Yes.
communists think.
It's
Yes.
trying to make our country
No.
great again and
No.
proud to be an American, patriotic.
Wrong.
That the
Okay.
reason we're here is because your grandfathers and your great grandfathers fought for our freedom.
That's
Against
obtuse.
fascists.
Yeah, you guys are. This is like a brainwashing. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're ever going to come out of this, but the reality is that
One sec. We'll go to my favorite one. Let me see if I can find it. It's one of the best. It's the whole thing on Antifa they did, which is insane. It was insane. Maybe it's in the shorts. It's one of the most insane things I've, it made me go, oh, this is the thing. One second. No, this guy has a good shorts game, man. I need to get on my shorts game. God damn it. Because he actually talks about
Antifa simply means that you are anti-fascism. It's like a movement. It's an ideology. There is no group. So you can't characterize an ideology as a terrorist organization. It's just people who are anti-fascism.
They really don't say really what they support, but what they don't support, I think.
It's the name. They don't want a fascist leader in this country. We now have one who is saying, if you are anti-fascist,
But they're more right.
Donald Trump is saying, if you are anti-fascist, you are now a terrorist organization. I will be able to arrest you at will. That makes him a fascist. If he's arresting people who are against fascism, that's because he's a fascist. You understand this, right?
Not really.
And if that happens, if they start enforcing this, they can arrest anyone off the street. They can watch our podcast and come after Chad and come after me.
You guys keep saying that. I don't see it.
I fucking love it. Where is it? There was one where they were talking about actually... I think it's this one. Let me see if it's in the transcript. Because it broke my... This one, there's one in here that like made me go, oh shit, I've had literally this conversation identical to that. Is it not finding shit in the fucking transcript? All right, fine. We'll just zip through. One sec. God damn it. Is this not the one? God damn it. I can't remember which one it was.
I found what I was thinking of. Hold on. There's a trailer for it. I just linked. And then...
What do you think fascism is?
Here's a longer follow-up interview after the end of it.
I guess it would be going against the government, trying to take the government down.
No. Fascism is a government that says any dissent against us will be met with death, imprisonment.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler, for example, was a fascist.
Right.
Mussolini was a fascist.
Right.
In World War II, those are the people that the United States was fighting against.
Their way or the highway, yeah.
Okay. So if you're anti-fascism, you're anti-Hitler, anti-Mussolini, anti-authoritarian governments trying to squash the regular citizen to get rid of freedom of speech, to get rid of freedom of the press, all the things Trump is trying to do.
But they are not, because they are terrorists.
Okay, this is how fascist governments work. They say any opposition to us is a terrorist movement and we must meet it with force, potentially military force. That's why he's trying to militarize all of our cities. Trump is fascist. That's why he's saying anyone who is anti-fascist should be jailed or...
I hear what you're saying, but that's not what Antifa is.
It literally is anti-fascist. That's where the word comes from. What do you think
The whole thing is
surprise
this,
you?
and it was amazing, because they had this long discussion. It's one I've had. It's like, because Hitler was fascist. No, he wasn't. That's what the dad said. The dad's like, no, he wasn't. And it's like, okay. Okay. That's the thing. That's the thing. And that's kind of it. You kind of end up in this place where it's like, what are you doing? How do you have that conversation? How do you talk about this stuff? And it's like, I don't even know at that point. How do you even have that conversation about what fascism is?
I mean, I've heard the socialists are fascists, but I've never heard like Hitler wasn't a fascist. That's a new level.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's frustrating because there's very little you can do that isn't just sort of that thing. Let me see if I can get to it.
What have you guys started applying?
Stop.
1 second.
Look at my rooster.
That's an awesome rooster.
Mm-hmm. First one I got.
Nice.
I also saw a rooster chick.
A rooster chick. Well, that's just fantastic. I didn't even know roosters were in Minecraft.
Right? We get to throw him.
I'm not going to be asked that. What
Where?
if you guys are all
Where
wrong and
everyone in our government.
it
God damn it.
causes it?
It's like picking and choosing little.
Tylenol is dangerous. You're wrong. You have
Whole thing's worth watching. I won't make you all watch it right now. I could sit and watch all of these literally for just a huge amount of time. A huge amount. It's when we talk about when we see these things, it's important to remember people are produced by the material conditions they're in. That includes people who came before us, people who raised us, people who are like this now, whatever it may be, and the material conditions that they're a part of that reward and build things. There is no rhetorical solution to this. There is no debate. It's what's that channel that I ended up not caring for? We did a watch of their Final Destination video. It was shit. Morbid Zoo had a video on like how fun debate could be, or like the ritual of debate lost. And it's like this weird fetishization of like the way things can be discussed, and the misunderstanding of debate being like this ancient art form, which it's not. Debate, as we know it, existed specifically. Like, do you know the history of debate? If you did debate in high school, you might have heard that there's a debate project called the Lincoln-Douglas debate. You may have heard of the event, the Lincoln-Douglas debate, that had two guys arguing two sides of a thing for a crowd. Was literally built to do that, to force people to take one of two sides. That's why they did it. There's papers on it. There's stories on it. There's research on this. They did this to lie, to get people to believe there are only two sides, to force people to take one side or another. Oh, I'm with him. I'm with him. That's what the debate format was created for slavery. To try to get people to side with the North or the South, not to fight slavery, right? To build that structure, to encourage that structure. Debate has never, ever been a functional thing. It is created in American capitalist systems to drive one side or the other. And when we talk about people being debate-brained and being impotent from being debate-brained, it's because it's one side or the other. What's your side? Take the affirmative or the negative. Take the affirmative or the counter. Oh, well, the affirmative is this. The negative is this. And you've got to choose between them. But that's not the way things work. Nothing is two-sided. It's a silly conversation to even have. Silly up front. It creates categories. It closes us in. Don't fetishize debate or discussion. There's no rhetoric that wins here. You know what wins here? It's actually, ready? Fighting for everyone to have equal schooling. Do what Finland or Norway did and ban private schools. So that way everyone has an incentive to make sure all the schools are perfect because everyone goes to public schools. Make sure that we have single payer health care. So that way people are able to get the health care they need. Make sure people have access to food. Make sure people have access to a non-stress-free life of good work where they're in union jobs. These things that enabled people to have a better life, give them that. Give them these things. Take care of people because it's this weird thing. People who are more, I don't know how to put it, educated, more calm, more having to deal with other people that they may not, actively try to go out and deal with. Public schooling, work environments, public activities, public transit. All of these things force people to deal with people, creates a better, more equitable society for everyone. So we actually need to actually help these people. See, that's the fun part is the fascist mindset is to hurt people like me, like you, like all of us. That's what they want to do because they hate us. It's easier. Just cut it off. Concentration camp, off we go. That's why they end up doing that always. That's why Stalin did that too, by the way. Stalin was a right-winger. Hate to break it to everyone. Sorry, tankies. The universalist message is actually that everyone gets these services, that no one's left out. Because everyone's a person and people deserve dignity and a life of free choice and expression. So fight for that. It's actually an easy thing to fight for. It's not hard, but we all have to do it together.
But Brooks, have you considered that maybe bad people who are evil and don't deserve it will benefit from those things. Oh, and also, I personally believe that me not having all those things has made me a better person and improved me and made me tougher and stronger.
Yeah. You make some valid rhetorical points and you've changed my mind. No, it turns out.
Yeah, Brooks.
If you look anywhere,
I feel that.
Go. Go.
You know what? Never mind. There's nothing.
If you look anywhere, the number one predictor of crime, extremism, terrorism, death and sorrow and pain is poverty. That's it. That's actually it. It's really weird, but it's the number one indicator everywhere in all time and all space. And when you eliminate that, the rest kind of goes away. Still happens. There are pockets of it. People fall through cracks. You work to fix those cracks. But it's not a people that do it. It's the conditions of their lives. There's a reason. And it's one of the things that really fucks with people in America is to point out the zip code you are born in is determinant of the outcomes of your life. Not as it's kind of fun like a zodiac sign. No, like this zip code, people end up in this position financially and spiritually and otherwise. And it's like 98% certain. Like it's fucked up. It's like almost 100%. There's some silly percentage where it's like a handful of people break out of it, but most people don't. So where you're born determines where you die and how you die in America. More than anywhere else, actually. America's very fucking weird on this, the way it's set up and how it's sort of stratified. Other countries have some level of this, but it's a bit different because people tend to live and die in the same place. Americans move, but even if they move, it doesn't matter. Where you were born determines all the rest of the rest. That can be fixed. The world, for the last 3 or 4 years, produced enough food. That's the end of the sentence. Did you know this? We have enough food for everyone. We had enough food. We have enough food. Like, that alone should make everyone go, well, wait a second. If we have enough food, then how come almost 2/3 of the fucking world goes hungry?
There are people who don't even get enough water.
There are people who don't get enough water and who don't get almost any food and who die of starvation. But we produced enough food as people the last couple of years. We just have enough. Weird, right?
Yeah. But then you have people like Trump who grew up in a privileged home and had everything, more than everything he needed. And look what he's become.
He became the thing. He became the person in power. Sorry, you're echoing back at me, JK. Inequality is the driver. Poverty is the driver of crime. He gets away with these things because we have these inequalities, because we have a stratified system that deals with him in that way. That his world of making money pushes us in a place where he can throw lawyers at poor people. And so he can just do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to pay out. He never pays out. In fact, he was famous for not paying people and projects going bankrupt and people and companies going under because of him. That's why? Because he can afford, like he's doing now. You just throw lawyers at it for a while. That's what rich people do. The system is set up this way because poor people can't do it. Again, poverty does a lot of things. The biggest thing, and it's thank you for sharing, Risen, James. Thank you for sharing my video on zoning laws. Yes, Dexter.
Turns out my rooster laid an egg and I got a brown egg.
You got a brown egg.
So I'm gonna throw it.
And you got a little tiny rooster. Awesome.
You know what? I did have a rooster chick earlier, but he flew the coop.
Well, that's fantastic. A rooster flew the coop. So now he's got a bunch of other places for his roosters.
Brooks.
Real quick. So the setup and the way that this plays. Sorry, I just want to finish my point. The way this plays is pretty simple. People in the area they live in, they spend the money, they live there, they go through this thing, but the discordance with how that money works in the larger system, what that requires and how that's set up, means that people who live in any area who don't make a lot of money, because again, your zip code sets you up, means you rent. When you rent, you don't get involved in local politics. This is one of the drivers of why the wealthy want to keep rent in the place it's in, because it gets us back to the place where landowners are really the people who are in charge. People who rent generally don't actually run for office. The vast majority of people, you can look it up, they're all owners. In fact, many of them are actually fucking landlords, because if you're going to rent, how are you able to know you're going to be there for 2 or 3 years? What if something happens? What if you get told to move and you can't find a place in the same zip code? You can't run for office. You'll be kicked out. So you get fucked. So all of the system, all the poverty, all the renting, all the stratification of society and the wealth puts us in a place where I and you and others don't have any say in anything, because again, we don't have a ticket. We didn't get invited. It's not our party. Go ahead. Sorry, Reiko.
I remember speaking of what you said about stats earlier, someone said, the way it is right now, you have the choice. You could either be the richest person in the world, or you could solve world hunger and still be the richest person in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't double-checked the data on that recently, but I remember at the time, this was when Bezos was the leading billionaire, we did see that, yeah, technically that is true.
Well, it's a logistics problem. Like, that's the thing. Underneath it, it's a logistics problem. We've made enough food for the last few years. So it's
we can get Amazon packages to, overnight all the way from China, but we can't distribute food to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, and if you haven't seen it, here, I'm going to ruin your day with a thing. Let's do this. I'm going to ruin your day and leave you with
Jeez, Brooks, ruined my whole week.
I'm gonna do that actually.
Good.
So, this is really depressing. So, all the warnings. Is all the warnings okay to say?
Shutdown of USAID has already. Okay, this is sad.
So Donald Trump and Elon Musk took a chainsaw to USAID.
Yeah.
And everyone talked about how this is going to be mini deaths, because if you're going to close a program, you can't just shut it off immediately. There's a lot of processes, but you have to find other things. You have to give people time to find other solutions. And if you just do a hard cut, it never gives them time to be able to prepare. So they're always then reacting, and it causes entire cascading failures of structures of support. We'll get back to that, but I want to read right down here. One sec, where was it?
Even I saw even Sam Harris was shaming Elon Musk for this.
We're now witnessing what the historian Richard Rhodes terms public man-made death, which, he observed, has been perhaps the most overlooked cause of mortality in the last century. Brooke Nichols, the Boston University epidemiologist and mathematical modeler, has maintained a respected tracker of current impact. The model's conservative, assuming, for example, that the State Department will fully sustain the programs that remain. As of November 5th, it is estimated that USAID's dismantling has already caused the death of 600,000 people, 2/3 of them children. The toll is appalling and will continue to grow. These losses will be harder to see than those of war. For one, they unfold slowly. When HIV or tuberculosis goes untested, unprevented, or inadequately treated, months or years pass before a person dies. The same is true for deaths from vaccine-preventable illnesses. Another difficulty is that the deaths are scattered. Suppose the sudden withdrawal of aid raises a country's under 5 death rate from 3% to 4%. That's a 1/3 increase in deaths, but hard to appreciate simply by looking around. And the New Yorker got this stunning documentary called Ravina's Choice that I'm not going to watch here because it broke my heart. I'm going to link this article here and there, both places. You guys, if you want to go, you can go watch. It's a story of a mother who had a few children in South Sudan. And one of them, due to malnutrition over the last few months, developed a severe skin condition due to not being healthy. And she had no choice but to walk the 12 clicks to a clinic and leave the rest of her children without food. And then, well, her child started to improve, on IV, they're able to feed every day, getting food every day. Found out that she needed to return to be the one to get food for her children. And she had to choose, take the sickly child back home or let her children back home starve. It's not a happy ending.
These things.
It's not a happy ending.
Like you bring me flashback to where I was working in the NGO. Like these fuckers are without soul. These fuckers, like literally, like for a year, I knew that this is kind of unfolding, but like these fuckers without soul. Like being an American. Like there's a comedian who said, right? I'm sorry for this dark joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being an American is to learn how to be a psychotic, right? Like that's being an American. For me now, I'm not an American, but that's being an American. Like, being a psychotic.
It's rough. And this stuff that is happening globally, this is just one example of this one tracker. And the tracker is itself pretty impressive, to be frank. It's worth looking at. It's in the article. But it's deaths by funding discontinuation, 200,000 adults, 414,000 child deaths. Good job, Nazis, 88 deaths per hour. Well done, Nazis. But then but here's the thing. This is, when you go through, it is worth going through because it is more than just deaths. And this is the thing that they get into in the article. Like the deaths itself is almost unnoticeable, but because it's like, again, another % or 2 or 5, it's like, do you see that? Are you going to notice it on the ground? No, you didn't even see the fucking 3% of deaths. But when you're talking about like the systemic problematic issues, child malaria cases, because of this, there's already been 5.7 million child cases of malaria, almost 2 million adult cases of malaria, because of termination of funding. These are straight up deaths, but this is like malaria. Like these are ruins people's lives, just disrupts everything about their lives. And this is where you start talking about like cases of tuberculosis, cases of this. These things take time to hit, and we don't care. We don't care about it.
By the way, as a Libyan, the Libyan government don't care about these immigrants, Well,
I mean, what government does really?
They don't care, right? So I will speak the truth, no matter the truth. These bureaucrats in Libya don't care, right? Because they don't receive any benefit from this, so they will throw them out. I saw a lot of Sudanese people like in Libyan institutions, in Libyan food banks, right? Crumbling for lines, like thousands of lines, right? To kind of receive a package of food, right? Because they have civil war there, right? So I think nobody cares about them, unfortunately. And this is the hard truth,
Well, and again,
welcome to my world.
Well, and it's there were a lot of people who were cheering on the dissolution of U.S. aid on the left because it is commonly used as a pressure valve for American soft power and hegemony. I get that. But again, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of deaths in just 6 months, and it will be millions by the time we get to the first year. And that kind of thing, no one should be proud of or happy with in any way. The New Yorker piece, just to read a bit, goes into, because it's one of these guys who actually did the NGO work. And he's like, I went into Kenya and we did with USAID, and the World Food Program, how it worked is they shifted the thing in Kenya. Mortality rates for severe malnutrition, once 20% or higher, which is insane, fell below 5%. In Kenya, communities we work with, including refugee camps, saw death rates drop to just under 1%. The United States played a central role in developing and manufacturing the formula for therapeutic supplements. USAID then had helped UNICEF, World Food Program, local health system, and other actors scale up the approach worldwide. Globally, under 5 child mortality fell by more than half since 2000, in a major part owing to the advances in malnutrition treatment, which saved more than 1 million lives in 2023 alone. Still, most of the world malnutrition children lack access to these programs, but instead of trying to close that gap, we're washing our hands of it and reversing the gains. And then it gets into really, I'm not going to read the rest of this. This is just too much for me right now. It's a very good article. It's a very good article, but I gotta bounce anyway. I gotta get out of here. I'm going to go dad it up, see how the kiddo's doing. What is Sunday? Is Sunday going to stream soon? What's he doing? He's setting for 4 p.m. I'm just going to tell him go early so that way I can fucking just raid in. Man. Sunday's streaming 1,000 Plateaus today? No, he's not. He's doing he's doing it on Patreon because he really doesn't want me watching it. He knows I'm not going to subscribe to Patreon. I made it
bad because I am a Patreon supporter of Sunday, so I guess I'm gonna have to go and watch another hour of that.
I'm sure it's fine, but I will tell you, my thing about 1,000 Plateaus is that it should never have a reading group. There's a big reason for that. The book, as it's written, is intended to be read from any direction in any way. It's intended to be a work of its own doing. And so if you have someone who's telling you, here is what this part means, now let's go to the next section, here's what that means, it's defeating the purpose, like in every single way of reading the book.
I know that. I've read 1,000 Plateaus 1.5 times, I guess. Once in Swedish and a couple of the Plateaus in French in the original. And I agree with you. I think that 1,000 Plateaus works best when you use it as the playground that Anti-Oedipus has constructed. How to say?
It is, but if he's doing ATP and he's actually doing it on stream, I'll have a lot of fun. So that'll be good. But yeah, I appreciate it. He's doing it because no one does. Acid Horizon did a little of this. I fucking hate that too. I hate anyone. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm sure you're having a good time, but this is not the book to explain to people. It's like having a poetry reading group. You can talk about what you got out of it, but if you're the only person talking and you're leading the group, yeah, we'll see.
I've been reading Guattari's work, especially the 3 ecologies, and it's fantastic work.
Yeah,
by the way,
3 ecologies is easily his best.
Yes, the 3 ecologies is really, really good.
It's phenomenal. Easily his best.
By the way, he predicted Trump, like he said the thing about Trump.
No, he didn't predict Trump. He described Trump as he was at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, kind of phenomenal, like kind of phenomenal.
I don't remember the exact wording, but it said that real estate developers like Trump spread like black mold in buildings.
Yeah,
because that's what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't predict that this is what would happen. He observed in New York and Atlantic City that this is what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like his concept of like, I want to understand more his ecosophy, right? His concept about ecosophy, right? I want to kind of like, because I'm still in the middle of the book, right? You know, passing out what he talking about with ecosophy, right? And it's kind of like fascinating to me. I'm reading his Theosophy also, the book. I'm starting reading it. I kind of started yesterday, and it's phenomenal. It's a historical background, and at the same time, like I didn't know that Guattari was involved in the 1977 Italian, like, you know, communists, and he was involved in the movement, right? And in the anti-psychiatry kind of shit, like it's kind of phenomenal, like it's kind of phenomenal thing, you know, especially the Italian, the era where, you know, Guattari was involved in the Italian kind of movement in Bologna. Bologna? Is that I'm pronouncing maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but in Bologna especially, right? Like he was, you know, engaging in militant groups, right? And it's phenomenal. Like I'm starting to scratch more Guattari, right? And I still kind of didn't understand subjective conservatism, right? What is subjective or singularities or these kind of things? Still kind of like
some of that language, it comes from other thinkers as well. Like the singularities thing comes, I mean, again, you're going to start getting into this and it's going to be semiotic back ends as you start making your way all the way through everything he's referring, because he's similar to Deleuze. It's one of the reasons they got along so fucking well, really, is he didn't like build it only with Lacan and then he went off. He's made up of a huge amount of shit, but most of his stuff comes from his like clinical training and clinical experience at board. And so the whole thing of like what I enjoy and I appreciate kind of around three ecologies. I mean, I appreciate a lot, but it's for him, there is no separation of the registers when it comes to like hey, yeah, we've got a lot of pollution out there, but the idea that it's only ecological or only social or only mental, that break and doing away with that break, I guess, it makes it a lot more interesting. His wonderful little descriptions of things at the board where he talked about transversality. It's I can't remember exactly where it was. I want to say it's in Transversality Essays, but he talks about how at a one clinic, I don't think it was the board, I think it was another one. What they found is that the doctors were much more effective in treating and were aware of everything that was happening with every patient in a different way than most hospitals. Because most hospitals, they deal with it only when there's an emergency, but somehow at this one, they were like really more attuned to everything that was always happening. It's because the doctors and nurses were all fucking. And so because of that, their bed talk or post-coitus talk or whatever would end up being like a description around, hey, I had to see Mr. Johnson again today and he's blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Like just having those side conversations put a different spin on how the general clinic worked, because that organization, that hardened structure that became so serious in a lot of clinics, by breaking that, which seemed to be bad, actually gave doctors more insight, gave patients more visibility. And his understanding and way of looking at this, I found transformative as he worked his way through everything. I find, again, when he's writing well, he writes very well. Most of his stuff I don't believe is written very well. I think he writes stilted and difficult and with a lot of heavy jargon, personally. with Three Ecologies and Chaosophy being more approachable than some of his other stuff. But Denis Vier's, the other pieces he's written, very different beast.
Brazil.
Yeah, I'm reading his. I'm right now reading through. I couldn't find it in English, so I found a French copy of his 61 Dreams of Kafka, which is wild. Like really, again, I think it's very good.
It's different in tone in Kafka as a minor literature. He did it with Deleuze, I think, right?
Yeah,
it's different in tone.
Very different,
right? Okay,
very different. It plays in some of the same stuff, but it's very different writing. Because I don't know, as I understand it, and as the Intersecting Lives tells it, Guattari didn't really write anything that is in the final books that he wrote with Deleuze. Mm-hmm. He wrote notes, and Deleuze kind of took them and turned them into things. So Guattari's writing on his own, I think, is very distinctive, and I don't see it a lot. It's very distinctively Guattari in this.
And it's more open, I guess. And I noticed it in the Three Ecologies. It's more open, kind of. He called as he called, right? Mm-hmm. One of the beautiful things he said, I don't know about Iranian history, right? Afnan, if you're there, I don't know about Iran, but like he called the Ayatollah fascist, mm-hmm. right? Which is fascinating, like you know, which is fascinating. Why kind of he called him like a fascist, right? Because it has a lot of history. Like Guattari was involved in the Iranian Revolution, I guess it was because like Foucault and all the history, I guess.
Yes, but I get what you're saying, but Guattari had before that already declared that, for example, Maoists and Stalinists were fascists. So it wasn't a new thing to him to declare the Ayatollah to be fascist, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know what's happened in May 68, but in 1977, like, you know, it's pale like a lot of people talk about May 68, but like in Italy, like in 1977, right? There's a communist who kind of like was living in Bologna, and he was prosecuted by the Christian Democrats, right? And he went to Guattari, and they become friends, basically, right? And because he read the transversality, you know, essays, I guess. What's his name? It's an Italian name. Don't quote me, you know, because
Negri something.
No, not Nigari, not Tony. One of the communists in the left-wing faction.
Wait, I think I know who you mean. I don't remember his name either. Sorry.
It starts with the B. It starts with the B.
Was he the guy who Guattari helped escape by boat?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah. So that's why I'm interested in transversality kind of essays, because it's crucial to the Italian Communist Party at that time in 1977. It's very crucial for them. You know, they read this shit. They have radios like that, kind of like, you know, broadcast this kind of radical thing, you know, that's coming from Italy. And that's due to kind of the intellectual help of Guattari. Because Guattari was in Italy was a superhero, a superstar, like in Italy, you know, at that time.
True.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
but again,
I've heard so too.
I'm gonna just as a note bounce out because we're hitting near 4 hours. I am gonna send you over to go yell at Sunday about how he's doing ATP. It'll be fun.
Do.
Yeah, I'll go so you guys do that. But otherwise, as I like to say, as always, it is a highlight of my week. I love doing this shit. I find it fascinating. I find the times very fun and the discussion's great. Join us Thursday for more Vicious Circle. And I'll be streaming randomly this week, and we'll I'm trying to get the Kintsugi project started. It's a lot more work than I thought, and I just haven't had the time. So we'll be seeing how we can do that. We've got a lot of things to do. But otherwise, I will talk to you all soon enough.
Bye, Brooks.
See y'all.
See you.